Hello everyone, very good evening. So we are just waiting for a few more participants to join in, and we will start in the next couple of minutes, probably by 18:04 or 5. Okay, once again, very good evening to everyone. Can someone please confirm if I am properly audible to everyone?
Yes, Abhishek, you are audible.
Okay, thanks, Narendra. So, yeah, as you all know, that this session is not one of those regular sessions. Uh, this is basically organized on the request of many learners, just for the purpose of revision for the end term exam. So what we have basically done is we have tried to extract a set of questions from each of the week's graded or practice set of questions that were available to you throughout the course. So we have taken out around 35 questions, from all of those assignments, and we will be walking through those questions in this session. We have taken those questions in such a way that it covers all of the core concepts that we are teaching in this course, and in some way, some questions are probable from these concepts in the end-term exams. Uh, Even after finishing with all of those questions, if any one of you has any doubt, so please let us know. We'll try to get that doubt clarified as well as soon as possible. Yeah. So there were some posts in the discourse as well that there are some quiz questions that you guys want us to go through as well. So as I mentioned, that we have taken out a big set of questions from all of the weeks. So I'm hoping that after walking through those questions, your doubt should have been clarified by then. But if it is not, then we will also take those questions into the consideration and we'll discuss them at last. Hope that would be fine to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So I guess now we can start with the session. So for that, I would like to request Narendra to start walking through those questions.
Yeah, I understand.
Thanks.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, Narendra, please go ahead.
So I will start with the first week. So the first question is, so this is the question. We have a array A which contains the numbers 75, 55, 22, and 5. And the method we are and the method we are using here is the sort method. So what the sort method does, it sorts the array. So A is the array, and you are applying the sort method on that array. So A is this one, and we are applying sort method on this. But the problem here is, so if you will not pass any comparison function inside the sort method, so I'll write it here. So generally what you do, if when you use the sort method, you pass a comparison function inside the sort function as a parameter. And if you will not pass the comparison function, it will convert every element in the array as a string, and then it will sort. So here we have not passed any comparison function, so it will convert this in a string. Like 75 will be converted in 75, and so on. So if you will consider all of these values as a string, then you start comparing these values. So the first thing you will see is the first character of the string. Like here, the first character of this string is 75, and here the first character is 5, and then here the first character is 2. So it will take the first character and compare. So 2 will come first, so that and there is, so 22 will come first, and then after that it will come to the 5, and then it will come to the 55, and then it will come to the 75. So answer will be D. Is there any question regarding this? The behavior we are seeing here is because of we have not provided any comparison function. If you will provide a comparison function like this, A, B,
Dhanendra, can you try zooming in slightly?
What?
Can you try to zoom in? Yeah, I hope this will make it visible to everyone. Yeah, thank you. I guess this should work.
So if you pass a function like this, then in this case it will take A and B, like it will take it as a number 75 and 55, and then it will check what is the value of A minus B, and based on that it will take the decision. But if you will not pass the comparison function, it will just convert it in a string and then compare those strings and then sort based on that thing. So I'll move to the second question. I'll assume that everybody has understood.
Can you make that little more understanding that when you are doing comparison?
Which one? This one?
Yeah, A minus B. So what's actually returning after that?
Return A minus B. So it will take, let's say A is 75 and B is 55.
Correct.
So A minus B will be greater than 0. So
Okay.
A minus B is greater than 0. This means that 75 is greater than 55. So it will put 55 before the 75.
So next comparison will be between one.
Yeah. So this is the criteria to compare two elements in the array.
Yeah. So how the sorting can be decided? So this is the first element. So at the end we are getting the entire array, no?
Yeah, we are getting the entire array, but we are using some kind of sort. Like I don't know whether which sort it is. Is it merge sort or bubble sort or whatever it is? I don't know the which sort exactly the JavaScript is using, but in order to sort any array or whatever algorithm you are using, you need to specify the comparison, how you are going to compare two elements.
Okay, so internally, so we don't know that the next comparison will be between what. So what will
No,
happen if you are, yeah.
I mean, let's take the bubble sort here. Let's assume that this sort function sort the array using bubble sort. So what will happen? It will compare these two elements, and it will put this 75 here and 55 here, and then it will keep doing this. It will like move the highest element to the end, and then after that,
Yeah. We take
After-
actually we take the first element and we compare an entire thing throughout. And whatever that bigger is that I will put in the beta. Okay, fine, sir. We can go.
I mean, in the bubble sort, I don't think you compare. You take the first element and compare with everyone. I mean, with this criteria, you cannot decide on anything. I mean, you keep on pushing the highest, the bigger value to the right.
Further, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Further view.
You compare 75 and 55, and if 75 is greater than 55, then put 75 here and 55 here, and then 75 is here, so you compare 75 with 22, and then push the 75 here and 22 here, and then now 75 is here and 5 is here, so compare 5 and 75, and then 75 will be here and 5 will be here. So now we know that the highest element is 75, and it is at the end of the array, and then we only need to iterate. I mean, we only need to do this task again. Leaving out the last element, because we know that this is the highest element, and we don't need to compare it with anything. In the first iteration, it will be something like this: 55, 55, 22. So all you need to specify a comparison function which you will use to compare two elements, and then you will run a sorting algorithm to sort.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it clear now?
Sir, if you do not pass the comparison function, sir, if you do not pass the comparison function, it will compare digit by digit, right?
No. It will convert everything in a string, as a string. I mean, 75. It will assume that 75 is a string.
So suppose there are 22 and 5 is there. Okay. So how it is going to compare 25 and 22?
22 and 5. 22 is like lower than 5 here, because it will take the first character 2 and compare with the 5.
Yes, sir, that's the same thing I told, that it is going to compare digit by digit.
Yeah, but digit is not the right word here to say, because
Yes, sir.
it's the character by character, you can say that.
Yes, sir, character by character. Right.
Should I move to the second question? Okay. So in the second question, so we have an array X and we have Y. So what this destructuring will do, it will copy all the elements of X here, and then there are some more elements in Y. So what will be the value of Y? It will be all the elements of X and then 7, 8, 9. So basically it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now, so on Y, what we are doing, we are like applying a filter function on Y. And what the filter function is doing, so inside the filter function, we are passing in a function as the argument, and the function definition is written here. So here, the X, what the filter function will do, it will take all the elements of Y one by one, and then check this condition. This is a condition. I mean, the return value of this function will be true or false. So it will take the first element 1, and then it will apply the modular operator on 1, and it will try to divide it by 2 and check whether the remainder is 0 or not. If it's 0, then it will say it's a true, and it will filter that element. For example, when it will take the second element, it will divide it by 2 and remainder will be 0. So it will store 2 somewhere. Let's call it Z is equal to. So first element, if you will divide 2 with 2 to the first element, it is not 0, so it is false. So it will ignore that element. So but for the 2, it will this condition is true, so it will be stored in the result array. And then similarly it will be 4, because if you will divide with 3 by 2, then the remainder is 1. So this condition is false, so it will ignore ignore 3, and it will move to the 4, and it will and the remainder is 0 if you will divide 4 by 2. So it will take that, and similarly it will take 6 and 8. So basically what will happen, it will filter out the even numbers. And then we are applying map function on this. So the map function is also takes a function as a parameter, and then it will iterate over that array. So now this y dot filter has produced this array. Now when the map function will be applied, it will take the array element 1 by 1 and square those element and store it in separate array. So after that it will become Z is equal to 4, 16 and 36 and 8. 64. And when you will add it, okay, and then the second one, now till here, the the array has become 4, 16, 36 and 64. And now now on this array the reduce function will be applied. So what the reduce function takes, it also takes a function, but here inside the function there are two parameters, a and I. The a represent the old value and I represent the current value. And you can initialize the old value with 0. So at the first iteration, the initial value is 0 and the current value is the first element of this array. And so it will add 0 plus 4, it will be 4. And then the current value will be 16 and old value will be 4. So if you will add, it will be 20. And then similarly, after this step, the old value is 20 and the current value is 36. And this means it is just adding all the values inside this array. So if you add all these values, it will become 120. I guess this is fine.
Yes.
Yes.
Means the reduce function is going to add all the value of array and the value of initial value a.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, which of the following method can be used to ensure that the displayed state and the system state are kept in sync at all the time? So here the displayed state means the browser state. By the state we mean the data which is available to the browser. And browser, you know that the JavaScript can manipulate the data. So the displayed state and the system state. By the system state, that is, the data which is persistent. So the displayed state can be, the displayed state will be vanished if you refresh the browser. if you will not save it on the server. That's why we save the state on the server, so that if we refresh the page, the data doesn't get lost. So what are the methods? What it's saying? Which of the following methods can be used to ensure that the displayed state and the system state are kept in sync all the time? So here are the methods which we can from which we can choose the AJAX request on each UI change. So if you, what does it mean? That whenever you are changing some data in the browser, you make a AJAX request and change that, and you make that change on the server also. So this way you can keep server state and the browser state in sync. And so this is correct, because whenever you are changing some data on the browser, you are also changing the same thing on the server. So the displayed state and system state will be in sync all the time. And the second one is periodic reloading of the web page. So the problem with this periodic reloading is, if you will, let's say you have you have programmed your application in such a way that at every 5 minutes it will refresh the page. So once you refresh the page, it will load the system state to the browser. But what happens if I change something on the browser and accidentally I refresh the page? Because we are not changing the state of the server at each change on the browser, it will get lost, because server doesn't know about that change. And the same kind of problem is with the view binding, because the view binding will only change the state of the displayed state. It will not change the state which is stored on the server. But here, what we are saying on for the D option, pure static pages, which with all updates rendered from the browser. What we are saying, that we are not going to change anything on the browser. We are going to only ask from the server. He has full control over the the server has full control over the change of the change inside the application. So this way you can keep the displayed state and the system state in sync. So A and D is correct.
I have one question here, sir. I want to be clear. In the option C, it is talking about the binding. Binding is the one-way reactivity. What's about that if it's model?
Model. So even if you are using the model, you are just changing the state which is stored inside the browser. Which is stored on the client side. You are not changing anything on the server.
Yeah. So one thing I'm doing. So instead of in the model and doing in the local storage, I'm doing. So what will happen? So question is, whenever we refresh, data will be there only. Even the data will be not lost.
No, but we have not written anything that you are storing anything on in the browser using any mechanism, local storage or session storage. So we are just saying that if you will bind the template data to the component data, so will it vanish if you refresh the browser?
Okay, so I can say that it is always whenever the client and the server is synchronized, both must be there.
Yes.
Then only.
So whenever
whenever
you are changing something on the client, you need to change it on the server also.
Yeah, because that in the first option, he was telling that we refresh, and after refreshing, we don't get the data get lost. That he was explaining somewhere in the B or the A option. So we change something on the browser and we refresh accidentally, and we lost the data. So that doesn't matter that we lost data or not, because there is other mechanism we may not lost the data, but it didn't synchronize with the server. So what is the actual definition is there? So we have to say that whenever the any user click on the web pages, and it should be synchronized web element as well as that server side. Both should be synchronized at the same time. Then we can say something, a statement like that.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's I wanted to clear.
So now in the question 4, I guess question 3 is clear. So now in the question 4, what we are saying, consider the below view application wants data object, and yeah. So this is the data object, and this is the options object, and we are creating a view application, and we are passing the options object to the constructor. So view is the constructor here. So we can we are passing this options object here, and inside this options object, here is the data object which we are taking it from here. And then what we are doing, we are app.new message is welcome to IITM online degree. Okay, so we have not written the like HTML here. So I'll just tell you what is the purpose of picking this question. So what will happen when you the data observation will be set up for only those properties which are present at the time of construction of the view instance. For what I am trying to say here, when we are creating this view instance, we are passing the option object, and inside this option object there is a data object, and inside the data object there is only one property, that is message. So the view will only observe the message. By observe, what I am trying to say is view will only see react to the change to the message property only. If you will create a new property, new message on the application, it will not watch for the change in this new message, because at the time of creating this instance, the view instance, it was not present inside the options of inside the data object. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
When sir app.new message will be undefined.
Yeah, app.new message will be welcome to the IITM online degree, but it will not react to the welcome. Yes. So if you use it inside the template, it will be undefined. It will be undefined. I'll just write that template here. It is like div with some ID is equal to and then slash div, and here we are trying to read the new message. So the view doesn't know about this new message, because data observation is not set for this new message, because at the time of initialization, new message was not defined. The only the only property defined here was message. So if you will write message here, it will recognize this message property, but it will not recognize the new message, because at the time of initialization, this was not present inside the data object. Is it fine?
I have one
Yes.
question. Can I ask?
Yeah.
Yes. So is there any exception for that, or it is valid for the all time?
Yeah, I guess there are some methods that you can use, but I don't remember them. But there are methods, I guess. I have read somewhere, but I don't remember the exact thing.
So I don't expect this type of question in exam.
Huh? No, but for
So-
this it is clearly correct.
Okay. So what about
But
that?
there-
Whenever,
Yeah.
so sometimes we do in the console. So if I go in the console and write the data.new message, so that new message will come there, or they will also show that undefined there.
No, if you write the data.new message,
So sometime what's happened whenever we inspect element go and the check that. So once
no, if you'll console.log app.new message, then it will print welcome to the ITM online degree.
okay, so value is available to the console, but not available to the element inside the app.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Sir,
sir.
it need
Hello.
Yeah.
So, sir, suppose under data object, if
Yes.
it was a new message, such that welcome, then what will be the answer then?
So new message will be, if new message is welcome, then welcome will be rendered.
Only welcome, no?
Yeah.
Okay. So then it will be overwritten.
I understand what you are saying. You are saying that you have initialized the new message,
Data
but
object.
you have changed this new message.
Hmm.
That I will have to
Yes.
check.
One thing, can you clear, sir? That's that showing nothing and the showing undefined inside the that HTML element. So what's the actually it's clear in the whenever we play in the JavaScript, raw JavaScript, we know that it's will define undefined. But sometimes what's happened that it show nothing. It will come like that welcome new message. If I say that new message is variable, so it will simply show the welcome or the welcome undefined. And can you focus on this point a little bit?
So what you are saying, that the value of new message. I
Yeah,
mean, you
so
have not initialized the new message, so you are saying that the JavaScript will understand the value of new message as undefined.
in
And it will-
JavaScript, I want to hear. Yes.
So you are saying that the message,
If I
inside
write
the
a
message,
new-
it will say undefined.
no. If I'm telling, if I will write a new message, so what will display, undefined or the simply
No, it
blank?
will throw an error that the new message is not available.
So
There is
it
no
will
data property as new message.
yeah. So but in the HTML, what will it show in the, because HTML will not see the error. So either it will define undefined or that nothing, blank space.
It will show a blank page, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Because
the
sometimes
first question. No, let me.
No,
let
no.
me
If you
ask
write
one
new
question.
message which is not defined, the instance is not given in view, so it will show a blank page. Nothing it will show, and with a warning or
Yeah,
error, something
in the
like that.
HTML it will show nothing.
okay. So there is a no cause, undefined is not going to be seen in that HTML pages in any error if I get from the view side.
No, you would not see any. There's no.
I mean, for this case, it will show nothing because there is an error. I mean, if you write like this, new message is equal to undefined. New
No,
message, yeah,
not like that. Because so we are actually defining undefined, no?
yeah,
If I write new message equal to undefined, that means we are defining undefined. I'm telling that.
yes.
I'm
It will
telling
show
that
nothing. It will show
nothing.
nothing. Yeah,
Okay.
it will be a blank page.
Sir, what will happen if we do data obj.newMessage instead of app.newMessage?
Here.
No, sir, in the code, instead of app.newMessage, data obj.newMessage.
I mean, and if you will keep this one after this line, then I guess it will. I mean, it will be initialized then, because before creating this instance, you have actually no, because now it's the app is not available here. And what you are saying, data. So you are writing it like this. Like this. Hello.
Yes.
So I mean, the data is already in, the object has already been created, so it should not affect any. I mean, the result should not change.
Okay,
But
sir.
you have created the instance here.
So writing this new line on the last line you have written, sir. So writing this thing and the earlier, there is actually no difference, or there is some difference?
Writing earlier means you are saying that
Writing app dot new message and writing app dot
Like this?
data object dot new message. Is that any difference or no?
no, there is no difference.
Last line. Yes.
No difference.
Yes. So is that so? If the right now you have written before creating the constant app, that time it will show that new message there, no?
Can you repeat yourself again?
Yeah. Can you reverse your statement that the thing you deleted? Can you write this? Yes. And can you comment that last one line?
I will remove it.
Yes. Now it will show that new message value there.
No, because you don't know what is the value of app. You have defined app after.
No. Sorry. Remove that app, sir. App dot you remove that and only write the data object dot new message.
Yeah.
Now it will show.
Yeah, it will show.
Okay.
Because now what you are doing, you have, I mean, you already had a data object, and now you are assigning new property, data object, welcome dot, and then when you are initializing, this new message is inside this data object, so it will work.
Clear. Yeah.
So the next question is, which of the following is correct regarding e tag and if match? So e tag is a response header which is specify, I mean, the value of e tag is specified the version of the resource. By the version of the resource means, so whenever you are creating a resource, you are attaching a string with that resource that is like specifying the version of that resource. Like if you change the resource, the value of e tag you should also change, and that will specify that the version of the resource has changed. That is the resource has changed. So and if match is a request header, request header when you are sending sending a request for the resource. Then if you will use the if match, then you will also send the value of e tag. Then if the value of the e tag will match, then the server will return the resource. And if the value of e tag will not match, then server will not send the request. So if you will use the if none match, and there is a request, one more request header, if none match. So if none match can be used, it would be like this. If none match. So this request header can be used to improve the performance. In such a way, let's say you have a resource which is cached inside your browser. So what you will do, you will send a request with the e tag, and e tag is verifying it is specifying the version of the resource, and you are asking the server that if you have the resource with this version, then only by if none match, you will say that I have this version of the resource. If the resource has changed, then give me the resource. Otherwise, don't send the resource. If you are using if none match, and if you are using the if match, then you are saying that give me this version of resource to the server. So if the version has changed, then server will not send the resource. And if the version has not changed, then server will send the resource. Is it clear?
Yes.
So e tag is a response header to validate the current version of resource. And e tag is the string of ASCII character placed between double quotes. So you can only use the ASCII characters, and you have to put it inside the double quotes for the e tag. And for the get and head request, if match request header is sent to get the resource only if e tag value match. So the server will send the response only if the e tag value will match. And if the value will not match, the e tag value will not match, the server will not send the response. Is there any question regarding this one?
If you can elaborate a little more, it will be easier, actually. Like that, what happening whenever we say that get and the head request? So
I'll elaborate it in a very high manner. So whenever you are creating a resource, you will generate a e tag value. E tag value means it will. This is the character. This is a string of characters which I have. Which has been specified here. It is a string of ASCII character placed between double quotes. So whenever you are creating a resource, you will create a e tag value, and that will be used to take a decision whether if someone is asking for a resource, then server should send the resource back or not. And if match is a request header. Request header means you will send. You will attach this header with the request. The value. One second, let me finish. So the value of if match header will be the e tag, the value of e tag. So when the request will be sent to the server, then it will compare the e tag value and the if match value. If both are the same, then it will send a response, and if they will not match, it will not send a response. Go ahead. You were asking something.
Yeah. So in general, whenever we talk about the sending request, we send the one URL. No? So URL can be either this get or the post type of thing. So when we sending this, what is the meaning of get and the head request? What's it?
I mean, this is a header. This is a header. If match is a header. So when you are sending a request, then you can attach a header. Yeah.
Suppose I send that xy.com.
Yeah.
So what is the e tag and what is this if match there?
So whenever you send a request, you send headers with the request, na.
Header means
Content type.
HTTP header.
Yeah, HTTP headers.
in the form
And
of
inside HTTP header, we have different properties like get,
Yeah.
method, host, accept language, user agent, content length.
Yeah,
etc.
content type. A lot of like properties are there. So if match is one of them.
Yes, sir. E tag is also one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
okay.
I mean, it's not. I don't know what is your problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I got that. I will check it. We can go next.
Narendra, shall I just interrupt for a minute?
Yeah.
So I have a request to everyone. That can you please keep this discussion very specific? As you can see that we have just walked through 5 of the questions. We still have 25 more questions to walk through, and after that we also have to take your doubts from the quiz and the graded questions. So it would be better if you can keep the discussions very specific here. In case you need to make some changes in the code and try some things here and there, I would encourage that you could try those things on your own in the background itself, right? So that the session can at least go through and we can get as many as queries clarified as within the session. I hope this is okay to everyone, right?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Narendra, please continue. Sorry.
So for the question number 6, this is the markup. So we have a div with ID app, and we have style attribute color white, and we are also binding some data with the style attribute, and that data is a div style object. So what we are doing here with the style property, we are binding some data which is available inside the data object, the data option. So here the div style. So what we are doing, we are binding this div style object to the style property. So the style will be taken from this div style. So the background color is red. So the only thing you need to you should look at the syntax here. The background color, if you will write it in the CSS, then you will write it something like this. But in the JavaScript, when you are writing it inside the div, inside the object, data object, then you should write it like this. This is specific to the view. So if you will write the background color in camel case, it will automatically convert it in that format, and it will read it from there. So what we are doing here, from the and one style, we have just statically defined the color white, and here in the style property, we are taking it from the options object, div style. So what the question says, it's what will be the color, background color, and the font size of the div. So the background color here is red, and font size will be 2em. The same thing will happen with the font size also. It will get converted into the in this format. So if you are writing it in the JavaScript, then you should write it like this one, this. So it will get converted in that format, and the browser will read this property, font size. So the font size will be 2em, and the color it will read from the static value which we have defined here. So the answer will be white, red, and 2em. I guess this is fine. So the objective of putting this question is here is that you can define the value of style property as an object also. You can define it inside the data inside the data option of the options object. So this is one way to define the style of the element of the component.
So sir, here div style is an object. Sometimes I saw an array.
Array?
Sometimes on view page, I think on view page I saw array has been passed as a different style properties.
No, but if this is the array, then I mean, how will you have to specify the key value pair in the key value pair in order to understand the browser. I mean about which property I am talking about. Like if you will write it as an array, like div style is an array, then you don't know the key. Like if you will write it like this.
Yes, I will check that again. I will post on Discord.
20px, then it doesn't know. And what is the key for this value?
So proceed, sir.
Consider the following view application with markup index.html and JavaScript file app.js. Index.html. So we have the markup ID app, P directive 1 and message, and directive 2 click. So we have to figure out the value of these directives in the question. So what the question says, if you want to toggle between the presence of T element on the click of the button element. So by the question statement, you can guess that we are asking about the presence of T element. That means we are, this element is going to disappear for some condition and appear for some condition. So if is our first guess. So we are talking about the conditional rendering here. So the directive 1, for the directive 1, the V directive should be if. So it is available in all the options. Now what it is saying, that on the click of the button element. So here we have a click, we have a button element which says, with the text click. So on the click is written, that means we are going to use click event. Okay, so click is here, click is here, click is here. So click is everywhere. So this one we cannot, this is wrong because of the syntax, because you don't put this colon here between the @ and click. And this one is also wrong, and this one is also wrong, because according to the syntax, there should be is equal to between the VIF and the value of the VIF. So this and this cannot be, B and D cannot be correct. So now we have to take the decision between A and C. So what will happen? So we have a data property scene. So what we want to do, once you click, and let's take a look at the toggle scene. So if you will attach the click event handler with the toggle scene method. So what the toggle scene method is doing, if the value of scene is true, then it will make it false, and if it's false, then it will make it true. So we can attach this method toggle scene to the on click method. So I mean on click is equal to toggle scene, v on is equal to toggle scene. So what will happen whenever we will click on that button, the toggle scene method will be triggered. And what it will do, it will just change the value of scene variable from true to false or false to true, whatever the previous value is. And then based on that, you can render this element. You can take the decision whether this P element should be rendered or not. So V if is equal to scene. If the value of scene is equal to true, then it will be rendered. If it is false, then it will not be rendered. And the value of scene can be changed with the click on this scene button. Is it fine?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So consider the following view application with markup index.html and JavaScript file app.js. So here we have an app.js, then index.html, and here is the app.js. So what is the question? The question, what will be rendered by the browser after 4 seconds? So when you will launch the application, the value of total payable amount, I mean for the total payment payable amount, you should go to the data option of the options object. So if you come here, the data, the total payable amount is 0. So if you will start the application, then initially it will render 0, but you can see that we have a function handler. We have the set interval. Set interval will be triggered at every 1 second. 1000 milliseconds means 1 second. So, and this function will be triggered at every 1 second. This function will be triggered after every 1 second. So what this function is doing, it is taking the app data and popping the element from the end. So at 1 second, it will pop this element, and then the value of the principal, it will change the value of the principal, and then again it will change the value of the annual interest rate, and then it will change the value of the duration, and then based on that we will based on that it will calculate the simple interest value. Simple interest value is written inside the computed property here. So the simple interest, it will calculate the simple interest, and then it will keep adding the simple interest. Is it okay? So for here, all the value of principal, annual interest, and duration is being taken from this app data. At 1 second, it will take this data. The principal amount will be 5,000. The annual interest rate will be 30, and then the duration will be 4. And then based on this data, it will calculate the simple interest, which is coming from this computed property, and then it will add the total payable amount at that interest to the total payable amount, and then you can calculate, you will get the answer. I will leave it on you because I will have to do some calculation here. Is there any question regarding this concept? The concept was really simple. This function is being triggered at every second, and every second it is taking out the data from the app data and assigning these values to the principal, annual interest rate, and duration. And then after that, based on those values, it is calculating the simple interest here. And then adding those interest to the total payable amount at the end, it is, I mean, and it is doing the same thing after each second. So after 4 seconds, it will pop out all the values and calculate the simple interest for all the values and add all those values, and then it will be rendered inside this total payable amount. Yeah, one question. I mean, there was one question asked by one of you that if you will initialize the data inside here, and then if you will change the data after the initialization, will it work? So it will work. This can be confirmed by this question. Is there any question?
No, sir.
So consider the following view application with markup index.html and JavaScript file app.js. So what we have is div id app y. So what we are trying to render here is the value of y. So here is the value of y. So here we have set a watcher. We have set a watcher, and this, I mean, watch for one of the property here. This watch method is watching for the change in this x, and whenever the value of x will change, this method will be triggered. And this one is the new value, and q is the old value. So if you will change the value of x, p will represent the new value and q will represent the old value. So what this condition says, that if the new value is greater than the old value and the new value is greater than 10, then make the value of y 1. So now let's say where this value is changing. For let I is equal to 0, I less than 20, I plus plus. So what this loop will run this app dot x plus plus 20 times. So when this iteration start, the I is equal to 0, and then it will increase the value of x. So this condition will be true because initially the value of x is 0, and now the value of x is equal to 1. So the new value is greater than the old value, but this condition is not true. But as soon as it will reach to the 11, because we are iterating it like 20 times, so it will increase the new value to the 11. So as soon as it will reach the 11, it will make and we know that this condition is always going to be true because x is always increasing. After seeing this expression, you can say that the x is always increasing. So this condition is going to be true always. The only concern is this one. So this one will be true if once the value of x reaches to 11. So after that, every time it will change the value of y to 1, and it is not doing anything. It just changed the value of y to 1. So the value of y, which will be rendered inside this div element, will be 1 because we are iterating it 20 times. At the end of the x, the value of x will be 20. but we are not asking to render it anywhere. So we are just checking, we are rendering the value of y here only. And y will change as soon as the x cross the value 10. Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Consider the following view application with markup index.html and JavaScript app.js. JavaScript file app.js. So here the same similar type of question here. We are trying to like find the value of y. But what is the question here? Oh, what will be the logged on the console and rendered on the screen respectively. So here the question is based on this before create element. So the before create element is triggered before the data observation is set up. So what view does it? I mean, every component goes through certain processes. Like it will set up the data observation. It will compile the. I mean, we will compile the template object, the template, the HTML, and like whenever you will make a change which the view is observing, it will update the DOM. It will update the DOM. So there are multiple lists. Every component goes through multiple steps. So the before create is a lifecycle hook which will be triggered before the data observation is set up. That means that X is not known to the view. So even if you are logging this console.log, X is not known to the view. So this is undefined. But this value will be rendered once the data is mounted. So the value of y is known to the browser. So it will be value 40. So the answer is undefined and 40.
One question here, sir. Can we, yeah, so sometime earlier, for that reason I was asking, in the, it will define undefined or the space. So
here, in the console.log,
the answer is that, yeah.
But you are logging it on the console.
Okay, okay. So it is undefined is on the console. Okay.
I mean, that time the problem was different. The problem was there. The problem was that the data was not initialized. The data, I mean, that data, the new message was not inside the data object when the instance was created. So the view doesn't know about that. It doesn't keep track of that data. So if you will specify that I want to render this the new message inside this template, then the view doesn't know what are you talking about. So it will throw an error. It will show nothing. That
okay.
That was the problem.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Consider the following view application with markup index.html and JavaScript file app.js. Now here we have a div element with the ID app, and inside that we are putting a comp1 component. And the comp1, we are defining the comp1 as an object. We are not creating the component using the view.component constructor. So what we are doing here, we are creating an object comp1, and which has all the properties which we define inside the options object, like template, data, and method, and you can define all the properties which all the options which comes inside the options object. So what I'm trying to say that you don't have to create a component using view.component constructor. you can define an object, and then you can register that object inside the components option in the app. Or if you are trying to use it inside some other component, then you can register it there also. But in our questions, that component has been registered inside the comp1. The only difference is that component, if you will define, you will create a component using view.component constructor, then it is globally accessible. I mean, if I will remove this comp1, then it will not, I mean, the view will not know about the comp1 because it has not been registered. But if you will define the comp1 using view.component view.component constructor, then even if you will not register it inside this components option, you can use it. That is, whenever you will create a component using view.component constructor, it is globally accessible. You don't need to register it inside any component or the app or inside the app. You can use it directly. But if you are creating a component using this method, like you are just defining the options object, then you need to register that component inside where you want to use. Like I want to use it inside this app instance, so I will have to register this component one inside this app, inside this components option. So all you need to do, the first thing you will write here is the name of the component. Let's say I will say component one. I will write it like this, and then I will write the object here. So what the view will do, it will treat this value as the name option, and then it will treat this comp1 as the options object for that instance. So in some sense, you are just creating an options object and registering a component using that options object. And if the name is not different, then you can only write like this. You don't have to write the name of that component. It will also work. Is the difference clear?
Sir, is there any typo error in line number 4? Because data should return an object. Return keyword should be there or not?
Line number 4.
Yes, sir. Data.
Yes, it will be inside return.
It should be returned.
It should have return statement.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sir.
But no. Oh, yeah. It's a wrong question here.
The name and component, this line will be inside return and brackets.
Yes.
So
yes.
just inside data.
Yeah, it is a function here. If you are using the local component, then you have to write the data option as a function, and then you need to return. And then whatever you want to return, the object, you just put it here. Now it's and now should we move to the next question?
Sir, why is the answer A for this question?
Okay, yeah. So that was the problem. I mean, initially the code was written like this.
Oh, understood.
Consider the following files are present inside the same directory. So we have a file app.js and then sample.txt. So what we are trying to do here, let me see the question. So what will be shown on the browser console if the index.html is rendered with the help of browser? Index.html is rendered with the help of browser if there is no network error. So we need to go to the index.html. So let's look at the fetch call here. So fetch call, you can use the fetch call to get the data. I mean, it's not necessary that you make a fetch call for the network only. You can fetch the data which is present in the directory, or you can give the full path to fetch the data from your computer also. I mean, you can read the file using the fetch. So here we are trying to read the sample.txt. Sample.txt, and inside the sample.txt, the hello world is written. So if you will make a fetch request, then it will return a promise. And so A is a promise. So you can use the dot then to get the value when it is, you can get the, I mean, you can, A is a promise. So when you will use then on A, then the value of R will be the resolved value of the fetch request. So now it will return a promise. It will be resolved because there is no network error or anything. We are just fetching the data from the directory itself, where this index.html is written. So there is no network error. So it will always resolve, and it will send some response. So we are just checking whether the value of the response, the status of the response is okay or not. If it's not okay, then we will throw an error. So it will not, and then we are other else. So if it's not okay, then it will throw an error and then return the r.text. So it will not throw an error, so it will not be run. So it will return the r.text, and as we know that the then also returns a promise, and that promise will be resolved with the return statement of the then. I mean, this will be a promise which will be resolved with the value r.text. So r.text will be passed to this then, and the value of, so that the value of D will be r.text. R.text matlab the text value of the sample.text, that is hello world. So the value of D is hello world. So the console.log got the data, and then the value of the whatever the text value is, and in this case it's hello world. And this catch will not be called because there is no error. So the answer will be got the data hello world. Is there any question? So the simple message of this question you can think of is like, it's not necessary that you make a network request. I mean, fetch can be used to get some data inside the directory also. Like you can write your HTML inside the directory or anywhere in your computer, and you can use the fetch to get that data. You can read the data using fetch in your computer also. It's not necessary that you always use fetch with the network request.
So response will be of 200
Yeah,
status code.
yes. And then after that, it's only the promise question. So the response will be passed. The response will be a promise, and then you can use then to like get the resolved value, which is the response object, and then you can fetch the text from there, and you can return. So if you will return, then the promise returned by dot then will be resolved with the r.text, and then you can use dot then to like fetch. Okay, or r.text will be passed here. The value of d will be r.text, and so the value of text is hello world. So the result will be got the data and hello world. So let's move to the next question. Consider the following JavaScript code. Yeah, here x is equal to 2, n is equal to 3, and k is equal to 4. So here is the promise. So what this statement says, that we are creating a promise using the promise constructor, and we are storing that promise inside this variable promise1. So when you create a promise, then you can pass a function as a parameter, and that function will take two parameters, resolved and rejected. You can name it whatever you want, but you should take care of the position of this element. The first value will always be called when the promise resolved, and the second will be called when the promise gets rejected. So by using this way, you can create a promise which will be resolved with the value x and rejected with the bad promise. And here the value of n is equal to 3 and k is equal to 2. So k is equal to 4. So this is like expression will give false. Yeah. Ritudeep.
Yeah, sir, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, sir, could you scroll down a bit?
Yes. Yes.
Sir, yeah, in the definition of the promise, you can go back up, sir. It's fine.
Yeah.
Sir, don't we have to define resolved and rejected?
No, we don't have to define it.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
So, this resolved function will be called when the promise gets resolved, and rejected will be called when the value will be rejected. So as you can see that whenever the value of k will be less than n, it will be resolved. If the value of k is greater than n, then it will be rejected. So in this case, the value of k is greater than n, so it will be rejected. So this promise will be rejected always. And then after that, we are using promise1.then. So then if you are passing only one function in then it will always be called for the with the resolved value. So this will not be called because the promise is not resolved. So the control will go to the dot catch, and the error will be shown. The error will be logged because this promise is being rejected, and because the value of n is less than the value of k. Is it fine?
Yes, it is fine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Consider the following markup: index.html and JavaScript file app.js for the application. So we have a application here. So this is the named slot. Named slot is a component. So this question tests. I mean, you can use the slot prop to pass the data from child to parent. I mean, this is the core of this question. So what we are doing here, so as you know that the slot we use inside the component to fill up the what we say to one second to fill up. I mean, we use slot inside the component, and whenever we will pass some HTML inside the hold on a second, I'll just okay, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So whenever you create, like put a slot inside a component. So the value which you put inside the component, like here, this will be replaced. I mean, the slot value will be replaced by this this markup. I mean, this segment will be replaced by this segment if you will use the slot, this segment. That's what I'm trying to say. So whatever you will put in between the initial tag and final tag of that component, that will be, I mean, that is used to replace the value of slot. This one. And if you want to use more than one slot inside your component, then you can use the named slot. So here, what we are doing here, we are passing this prop to the parent, and we are like binding the current user to this prop. So what will happen? This data, the current user will be passed here in the parent, and the value will be stored inside the slot prop, and then here the slot prop dot user dot name will be replaced, and then it will be passed inside the child, like here. I mean, the control starts from here. Control starts from here. It takes the current user and pass it to the parent here, and it will be stored inside the slot prop. And then it takes the slot prop dot user dot name. I mean, the whatever the value of the user property of slot prop, and then take the name and render it inside this element. And then once the rendering is done, it will pass this the whole thing to this named slot component again, and then it will be rendered. I mean, this is circular kind of thing. What we are trying to do here, we are passing the data from child to parent, and then from parent to child. So by this way, what we can achieve here, we can achieve that we can represent the data of the child in different manners. Like like we are passing this current user data to the parent, and then if we want, we can create the different create the different component name slot, and in that component we can put the name after the district. I mean, we can play around with the representation of the same data. I would suggest you guys to go to look for the slot prop and the name slot. And the like high level idea here is we are passing the data from child to parent, and then again from parent to child. So we can represent the same child data in different fashion. So now what will be the value of current user? This is the question. So when the value will be created, when the value, I mean, once the data of observation is set up, then when the created hook will be run, then what will happen? We will look for the value user ID inside the session storage. Yeah, I will come back to you, guys. So the value, I mean, the program will look for the user ID inside the inside the session storage. If it will find the user ID, then it will store inside the current user, and but if not, then the value of current user will be none. So now the current user ID, the question is asking, so what will happen if you will load the application for the first time? So if you are loading the application for the first time, so the session storage is not yet set. So what will happen? The current user value will be none. So this will be treated as a false value. So the value of current user ID will be 2. And now we are using the find method on the object based on this condition. So what the condition says, so when you are using find method on the array, it will iterate over that array one by one. So it will take the first element and compare the user ID of that element, user.user ID. The value of user is the first element here. And then compare the value with the current user ID, but the current user ID value is 2 here. So it is false. So it will not return the object. But for the second one, it will return the object. So value of this dot current user will be the object with the user ID 2. So it will be user ID 2 and name Abhishek and district Delhi. So this one will be passed here, and the value of this slot prop.user.name will be the Abhishek and the district will be Delhi. So the answer will be name Abhishek and district Delhi. Yeah, someone was asking something.
Can you just once go up and explain the syntax once again? Yes, this one. Yes, this one. The current user ID is equal to current user. This one,
Yeah.
and the other one in this one, session storage set item. This one. Can you explain these two, the syntax? This and that both.
Okay, I'll explain.
How this current user from null it became 2.
No, when you are loading the application for the first time, that is, you have not set anything inside the session.
Yeah, it is null. Yeah, it is null. But null. Then you say then it takes value 2.
Yeah, so it is none. So the current user is false. So it will treat it as a false, and the current user ID value will be 2, because I mean, if you remember the syntax, if the value is false, if it's true, then it will run this statement. If it's false, then it will run this statement. So the current user.
Okay. So because this is false, this will take the value as 2.
Yeah.
Similarly, this
Sir,
one, the user ID, this one.
Yes, sir. Yes. So the session storage dot set item will set the value of user ID based on this condition.
Okay, so because current user is equal to, this is 1 because it's false. So it will again become 1 because it's 2 from the above line, right?
Yes.
Okay.
sir, what does 1 question mark 2 is to 1? What does that mean?
1 second. So current user is equal to 1. Okay. The current is equal, the value of, see, if the current, I mean, the first thing we will do, we will just evaluate this expression. The current user value is 1 is equal to 1. It will be true if the value of current user is 1. I mean,
Okay.
this, yeah. I mean, the first thing we will do, we will calculate this expression, the value of this expression. If it's true, then it will take this value. And if it's false, then it will take this value.
Okay, sir.
But according to question, we are starting it for the first time. So it will
Yeah.
not go into session storage, right? So it will only
No, it
follow
will
the above.
yeah, it will set the session storage, but the value of current user and current
Will be
user ID
2.
is already set. Yeah, it's
Okay.
2.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. So now we are on the question number 14. Yeah. The 14, consider the following markup index.html, JavaScript app.js in Vue applications. So now, so whenever you see the question based on the router, the first thing you do is look for the router view, because what the view router does, it maps maps the component with the path. This is all it does. So the first thing you go to the question and see what we are trying to get here. So the application is running on HTTP localhost 8080, and we are looking for what will be rendered inside the inside the router view for this URL. So this is the base URL, and after that we are looking for the /player/Rohit path. So what we'll do, we will just try to get what is the which component is associated with the /player/Rohit. So for that we will go inside the router, inside this routes object, and here we can see that the /player and column name. So the value of name is Rohit now. So, and this path is associated with the component player. So we'll go to the player component. So here is the player component. So inside the player component, we are rendering the value name. So Rohit will be rendered. We are passing it as a prop. And then after that, there is a router view also. So for that, we will have to look for the children's. And we can see that after the name, there is nothing written there. So it will match the default path. Default path means if there is nothing written inside this path, then it will be considered as the default path. So the component associated with one day will be rendered inside this render view, a router view. So the first thing will be rendered is name Rohit, and whatever the component one day says will be rendered.
10,000.
So,
10,000.
yeah, one day runs 10,000. And the second one is considered the app.js and the text.html, what will be rendered for the Rohit/test. So now we are looking for the children/test here. So for the /test, we are looking for the component test. So inside the router view mentioned inside the players inside here, the test component will be rendered. So
Test
it will
runs
test runs
5,000.
5,000. Yeah, and the last one, yeah, it's test run. And the last one is looking for T20, but there is no children named T20. So there is no one for the T20. So path star will be matched, and it is outside of this children's. So even this value, the name will not be rendered. It will just render the one day component. No, it will just render the test component.
Test.
Yeah. So it will just write a test runs 5,000. Yeah, Abhishek, you want to take over?
Yeah, yes, Narendra. Thanks. I'll start presenting my screen. I hope my screen is now visible.
It's visible, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, as you know, we have already spent a lot of time in going through those first 16 questions. I'll try to be a little bit quicker here. In case you have any queries, you please feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt in between. Else, I'll try to be a bit quicker here. And at last, as means we have to take some questions from the previous quizzes as well. So that's the reason for being quick. Yeah, so I'll start. So in this question, what we are basically doing is we have defined an object. This object is having certain properties like name, arrow function, and normal function. The arrow function is defined with the null value. The normal function is basically doing something in it. So what this question basically is asking for, we are first invoking the normal function. Now, the moment we invoke this normal function, what it does is it changes the definition of the arrow function, which was initially initialized to null. Now, what we are doing is we are changing the definition from null to something else. But we are changing it to, we are saying that this will contain a statement console.log this.name. Now, as you know that arrow function doesn't have a this of its own. So where does this come from in an arrow function? Does it refer to the global object, or what does it actually do? Anyone would like to answer?
The global.
It basically takes the value of the enclosing context. In most of the cases, or I would say in almost all of the cases, that enclosing context will be the global object. But this time, the enclosing context is not the global context, is not the global object. What is this? I hope everyone can answer that. We are basically inside a method of an object, right? So we are basically inside a method name or a function named normal function, which is a component or which is a property of an object named obj. And if we talk about this inside this normal function, so I hope you know that this will refer to the object obj here, and that's why the this.name that we are talking in in the context of this arrow function, since the definition is going to be changed, right? Since we are invoking this function in this first statement that we are making here. So the this basically will not refer to the global context. The reason I said that it will take the value of this from the enclosing context, that is this obj as of now, because we are inside this normal function. So this dot name will represent the name property of this obj object. And yeah, it is very much clear from here that the name basically refers to row. And at last, when we will call this arrow function, when we'll invoke this, this is what we are going to expect from it. But in case we would have invoked this arrow function, before this normal function, or before invoking this normal function, what could have been the output? Can someone tell me? If we would have invoked this function before invoking the normal function.
Undefined.
Undefined, are you sure?
I guess error, because
It's not a function.
we cannot call.
The error.
Sorry?
Error, sir. Reference error.
Yeah, you can basically expect an error here. Okay, and in case we are not invoking it, we are simply calling obj.arrow function in that case.
Oh, sorry, then it is undefined. But if we call the function, then it is an error.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
So if you just say obj.arrow function,
Yeah.
then it is null, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's not undefined. Okay.
And if you call with the brackets, then it is
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah, this question is obvious that at least for the context of this question, we'll be getting the output as Rohit. Here's the next question. What this is doing is, okay, so this we are making use of set interval here. This is basically an arrow function, the start name printer, and we are making a call to this function at last here. So the argument that we are passing to this function as a parameter is orange. And if we count the number of characters in this string that we are passing to this function, it will basically result in 6, ORANG. Now, what happens is that when we get into this arrow function, since we are making a call, we basically make a split. I hope you know what split does. It works the same way that how it works in Python. It basically splits the string into it creates a list out of it, and each element of that list will basically be a character in that string. So it will basically result into a list which is having 6 elements. The first element is O, R, A, N, G, E, and so on, right? And after that, once we have that list, what we are doing is we are making a reverse of it. So if the list initially had the elements like O, R, A, N, G, E, now the list is going to have the reverse of it. That means it will start from E, then it will go G, N, A, R. So this is what we are having in X as of now. Now after that, what we does is we basically call this function or this set interval. What it does is that after every 1000 milliseconds, it pops an element from this X array or this X list, or you can call it array as of now. And what it does is it simply logs it on the console, right? What we are doing here is that just give me the last element that is available in the array, deletes it as well, and I am going to print that element. But even after that, what we are doing is we have also kept a set timeout here. And what it is doing is that it is going to clear this set interval after how many seconds? So this will compute the length of this string. The length of this string is 6. So 6 plus 7 into 1000. That means it is going to end this set interval after waiting for 7 seconds or 7000 milliseconds. But the question here, it just basically asks us that what will be the output that will be shown on the console after waiting for 4 seconds. Now, if we will see that what will happen after waiting for 4 seconds. Now, this set interval, we have given an interval of 1000 milliseconds. That means after waiting for first 1000 milliseconds, it will perform the first computation, the first order of computation here. What will it do is it will pop the last element. So can someone tell me that what is the last element in this list called X? After we have executed this state. Are you sure?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sir.
Correct.
O.
It will be O.
Reverse.
Right? It will be O. So we will pop O from here and we will print it on the screen. So it will pop O. Sorry, it will log O. Then after waiting for 1 more second, it will pop the second last element. What is the second last element? That would be R. Third last element would be A, and fourth last element would be N. So after waiting for 4 seconds, it will print the value N on the screen. Right? So here we are basically asking the last value. So after 4 seconds, the last value that we'll get on the console is basically N. Before that, we will also get O, R, and A. But at last, we are going to get N. And if we will talk about that, what this program is going to print, means once it finishes its execution or till it finishes its execution, so this program is going to print each and every character of this string orange. Since what we are doing here is we are saying +1. Now, the way this set timeout and this set interval works, the behavior may differ in different browsers, but since we have specified that it is going to end after 7 seconds, so we can expect that all of the characters will be shown on the console. Doesn't matter which browser you are using, whether it is Edge, Chrome, or Mozilla, or whatever you are using. But in the context of this question, the answer would be ORANN. So this is a JavaScript program, and we need to predict the output. So what we are doing here is that, okay, we have a function here, and we are making a call to this function check, and we are expecting that this function is going to return a promise. That's why we are using the chains of thens and catches here. So let's see that once we make a call to this, check function, what it does is it creates a promise. It accepts two arguments, two parameters, resolve and reject. These can be anything. It doesn't necessarily need to be RES and REJ. It can be A or B or anything, any name, whatever you want to have here. Again, what we does is we basically create a set interval, and what's the interval time here? It is basically 500 milliseconds. That means the code written inside this set interval, this is going to be executed after every 500 milliseconds or half second. What happens when we get into this set interval block for the first time? We see that we are making an increment in a variable called start. Now we'll see that if we really have a start variable defined somewhere in our program. So we'll see that the first statement of this program itself says that we are initializing this start variable with 5. Now, once we execute this statement start plus plus, what it does is it basically makes it 6, right? And then we come to this condition which says that do you think that start is equal to 7? So remember, we are using 3 equality signs. That means the type and the value of the variable start must be 7. If we will be using double equals to here, then the value should be same, but the type can be anything else. That means the type can be string here. But since we are using a strict equality operator, so both the type and value, they must be same. But anyways, this time none of those. Okay, the type is basically the same, but the value is not the same, because after incrementing it by 1, the start will only be able to reach to 6. That means we will go into this else block, and whatever is written here, that would be shown on the console once. So the very first line that will be, let me first read the condition. Okay, it is just asking for the output. So we don't need to necessarily wait that how many seconds are required for us to be. Yeah. So the very first thing that will be shown on the console is yet to reach, right? Because as you know, this condition will become false. The value of start is basically 60. It's not 7. Now, once we have printed this yet to reach on the console, what will happen is, okay, so after waiting for 500 more milliseconds, this whole bunch of code will be executed again. This time, the value of start will be incremented by 1 again. Previously, we left it at 6. At this time, that 6 will be incremented to 7. Now, once we make this comparison, that start is equals to 7. So this time, this comparison will be successful, right? Because the value of start is a number and it is 7. So the very first thing that we'll do is we will print reach on the screen. Remember, the previous message that was already available on the console was yet to reach. And now, since this condition has been met, we will be showing, the interpreter will be showing this reached message on the console as well. Just after this, we are going to clear this interval. That means we will say that the block need not to be executed once again after waiting for 500 milliseconds. And after that, what we do is we say that we are going to make a call to this resolve function. And the argument that we are passing to this resolve function is passed. Now this reject won't matter because we have already called the resolve function. So this reject won't matter. However, if you could have some statements written after that, those would have been executed. But if there's a choice between resolve and reject, the very first statement or the very first call will basically take place. So resolve will take place. What will happen, since resolve is going to resolve the promise, we will be able to catch it in the then. This is basically accepting a pass as a parameter, as a variable. And we know that what's going to be the value of this pass, it is going to be basically pass itself. Like this is what we are passing here. And what we does is we simply says that whatever we get as argument, we lock it on the console. So the final value that is being shown on the console is yet to reach, reached, and then pass. So yeah, the first option is basically the correct option here. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I have a quick question to everyone. Can someone please tell me that what would have happened if we don't have this clear interval statement here? Can anyone predict the output of this program in that case, in that scenario? Just think about what this clear interval is doing, and after that, you should be able to give an answer.
Sir, do you mind scrolling down 1 second?
Sure.
It will continue infinitely.
Yeah, it will keep on printing reached pass after the first yet to reach.
Okay. So one thing is correct that this will basically lead to an infinite loop. But are you sure that this will keep printing reached and pass?
No, only once it will print reach, and after that.
So
Yet to
yeah, what
reach.
will happen in the while going into the infinite loop? What will be the message that will keep flashing on the screen?
Yet to
Only
reach.
reached. Only reached.
No,
It
no,
would
it
be yet to
won't be
reach.
reached. Yes, because
Yet to
it's
reach.
yeah, it's
It would be
going
yet to
to
reach because the value of start would change each time, and we expect it to be 7, and 7 has already been passed. We are going to increment it again and again. So every time you will find that the value of start is going to be greater than 7. That's why you will end up going into the else block and you will show yet to reach for infinite times. Right? Yeah. So in order to ensure that items entered to the to-do list persist after screen refresh by adding it to local storage, choose the code that can be placed in code 1 as marked below. Yeah, so you basically don't need to go through the whole program. You can just read the options and can predict what should be the correct option out of these 4. Would anyone like to predict? We have to make a save in the local storage. That means definitely we won't be doing, or we won't be using the get item. We will be using the set item method, and there are only 2 such options, A and C. So what's the difference between these 2?
A, it will stringify.
Yeah, one is stringifying it. That means converting whatever the value is into a string. Doesn't matter if it was already a string. And JSON.parse, what it does is it basically creates an object out of a string, right?
So
And what type of
your parse will change string to a different person, right?
sorry?
Parse, what parse will do?
It will create an object. It will return an object.
Okay, it will not convert the. Okay.
It will not convert.
The string, I thought it will convert the string.
It will convert a string into an object.
Okay.
Okay. And stringify will do the opposite. It will convert whatever you give it to a string. Right?
To a string, yes.
Yes. Now, if you want to make a save to the local storage, what type of or what data type you are looking for in order to save it to the local storage?
string.
You are looking for a string. So that's why first one is basically the correct option. But just in case, if we try to discuss a little bit further about the C option, JSON.parse, and what we are saying is this dot to-do list, right?
Yes.
Right. So what this to-do list is, this is basically an array, correct? To-do list is an array here. We are defining it with an empty array. And after that, in the methods, whenever this method gets invoked, what we are doing is we are pushing some elements into this array. That is new data, and new data is going to be of string type, something like this. Okay. So this parse function, it basically accepts a string, but what we are passing it an array itself. That itself is an object. Right. So is there any purpose of using parse? I hope that this should even result in an error. Because what it does is it converts a string into an object. And if you're if we already have something in form of an object, what's the purpose of using parse here? So that's why A is basically the only correct answer to this question. I didn't go through this HTML code because this was sufficient in order to answer this question. Yeah, is it okay? Shall we move to the next question, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so consider the following markup. Okay. So what it does is that suppose the application is running on this URL. If a user visits the page index.html and click on button normal. So index.html is something this, and clicks on the button normal and then close the tab in which the application is open, and then again visit the website. What will be the background color of div with ID app? Okay. Now, when the user is coming here for the very first time, right? So this is an view app. What we are doing here is we are basically trying to set up pre-binding, using style attribute, and we are comparing that if the value of mode is equals to dark. So we need to check that if this mode is defined somewhere in the view instance. So mode is here, it is basically defined as null. But we also see that mode is doing some, or in the created hook, we are trying to define the value of this mode variable. Let's see what we are doing here. What we do is basically we say that session storage dot get item. Yeah, session storage dot get item, and we try to fetch the value of this mode. Now remember that the user is going to visit this application for the first time. And if you look into this session storage, will you be able to find any item with key mode, with key name mode?
No, sir.
Yeah, you won't find it. So this website mode, it basically will get an undefined value, right? And since it is undefined, the value that will be given to this mode, it would be dark, right? Because it will be undefined. This condition will not be evaluated to true. If this would have been evaluated to true, the value of this website mode variable would itself be given to this mode. But this time it's not evaluated to true. So what we'll do is we will assign dark to this mode. Now, if we'll go to this HTML, since we know that the value of this mode is basically dark, it's so mode is equal to dark. Yes, it is. So what will happen is, since this condition has become true, the value of style attribute, it will basically become dark, right? And what does dark do? Dark says that the background color is going to be black. Let me just see that what we need to guess. We need to guess the background. Yeah. So when the user will visit here or this web application or this web application for the very first time, the value of this style attribute will be binded to this dark, which is also defined in the view instance, and which says that the background color should be black. Now it says that the user is clicking on a button normal. Now, the moment user clicks on this button normal, what it does is it invokes a function named change mode with a parameter normal to it, with a string parameter normal. So let us see that what this change mode is doing. So we come here to this change mode. We see that whatever we are getting as the parameter. So we are getting the parameter as a string value, which is normal. What we are doing is we are creating a key named mode in the session storage, and the value to that key is going to be normal. Right. So we created a key with the help of this session storage API set item method, and we saved it in the session storage. And what we did was that whatever the value of mode, we assigned it to this dot, like so that thing is not going to matter as of now. Now, as this question says that the user closes the tab in which the application was being opened. Now, once you close the tab, what behavior do you expect from session storage? Do you think that the session storage would be retained when the user will visit that page once again after closing this?
So it would be cleared.
Correct. No, the session storage would be cleared. The next time you will come here again, this created hook will get triggered. This will look for a key name mode inside the session storage, but it won't be able to find any. Since it's session storage, it's not local storage. If it would have been local storage, it may have found the value of this mode. It should be normal in that case, but right now it will again be undefined. Since it is undefined, this condition will again be evaluated to false, and this dark will be assigned to this mode. Again, when you will come to this HTML, the value of this mode is still dark. That means the style that is going to be binded is going to be dark object, and the dark object says that the background color will be black. So the background color will be black in that case. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead. Consider the following view application. Okay, this is again a view application. What this question is basically asking is that say you open the index.html file in your browser and write away in the text input shown on screen and click on the paragraph element with text, correct? Then post load the page, what will be the value? Okay. So what this is saying is that you are going to get an input box on your screen. You enter some text, Abhi, into that text input box, and then there will be a paragraph somewhere on that screen. You have to click on that paragraph, and then you have to reload the page, and then you have to predict that what is the class that will be associated to this paragraph whose text is given as correct question. So let's look at the HTML. The user comes here for the very first time. We see that there is an input text box and there is a paragraph with text correct. Okay. This paragraph element is basically trying to simulate some kind of ternary operator functionality. That means it will check that what the value of this is error is. If it evaluates to true, The class that will be applied to this paragraph element would be this button danger, or this button along with this button. If this evaluates to false, the class that would be applied would be button success. Right now, we are not bothering about it. Let's first see that if we enter the text and we click on this paragraph, what things are going to happen. So you come here, you type Abhi, ABHI in this text input box, and then you click on this paragraph. Now remember that we are using this vmodel directive here, vmodel to directive to achieve two-way binding. That means whatever you will type inside this text input box, this is going to make changes in the variable name that is defined in the view instance, that is defined here. It was initialized with an empty string. The moment you type ABHI, so the value of this name will be changed to ABHI. But note the event here, it is changed. So change event, it actually gets triggered when there is a change in the input text box, and after that you click somewhere outside of that input text box. If you're still typing on the checkbox and you try to hard refresh your page, this method will not get triggered. It's mandatory to click somewhere outside that input text box. That's why even the question specifies that you are clicking on this paragraph. Right? The moment you click on this paragraph, this event will get triggered. So the moment it gets triggered, we invoke a function called check. We see that what this check is doing. This check is checking that if the value of the length of this name attribute in this view instance, is it greater than 3? So can someone tell me that what's the length of the string ABHI, Abhi? It's 4, right?
Yes.
So 4 is definitely greater than 3. In that case, what we do is we change the value of this is error variable inside this view instance to false. Please note here, we are making it false. This is a Boolean false, right? This is not a string. Please note that we are making a small case f here. Don't try to be confused with Python. In Python, we use uppercase f to define the Boolean false value. So since this condition has been evaluated to true, this else part won't be executed. What happens next is that you create a key named name itself and you save the value of name. What's the value of name? It is going to be Abhi. And you also create one key named is error. The value to that key is going to be what? Can someone tell me? What's false. The value to this key is error? Yeah, correct. False. It's false. Okay. So it's false. Now, once this method is triggered, we have already clicked on that paragraph. This method has been triggered. After that, the question says that you are doing a hard refresh. Yeah, you are doing a force reload. The moment you do a force reload, the page will load again, the application will load again, and this mounted hook will get triggered. What we are doing in this mounted hook is you are checking that if there is any key present in the local storage with name. It basically checks that if there is a key, if there is a name key in the local storage. So this name might create confusion. Yeah. So we saw that, yeah, we saved, or this method got triggered. So we have saved or we have created 2 keys in the local storage, name and is error. The value of name is Abhi, the value of is error is false. So what we do is that we fetch both of those values from the local storage. So again, we assign this name to what? We assign this to Abhi, right? That was what we stored in the local storage last time. Can someone tell me that what value did we get or will we get in this is error variable while fetching it from the local storage? We will get false here.
False.
But yeah, what's going to be the type of that value, the data type?
String.
It's going to be string, correct. Now, when we come back here, since the question asks that what will be the value in the input text box and the class that will be applied to the paragraph. So to answer the first question, that the text that will be shown inside the input text box, it is easier that since we are using vmodel, the value of name has already been changed in this mounted hook to Abhi. So you can expect Abhi in the checkbox again. Oh, sorry, not checkbox, in the input text box. In the paragraph element, again, we will see that how this expression evaluates. The value of this is error is false. But remember, it's not a Boolean false. It is a string false. And every string value, or I should say that every non-empty string value will always be evaluated to true. That's why even this expression will be evaluated to true, and the class that will be associated, that will get binded to this paragraph element, would be this percentage. So to answer this question, both of the things that are being asked, what's the text shown in the input text box? It's going to be ABHI Abhi. The class that will be associated with this paragraph element, it's going to be button percentage. So the answer is going to be this one, C. Is it okay?
Sir, why will it be string, the value returned?
When you fetch any value from the local storage, you get a string value.
Okay, sir.
So fill in code 1 inside a mutation handler, which can be used. Okay, I basically didn't zoom in into the page. I have not even looked at the chat. I hope this is clearly visible, right? Or shall I try to zoom in a bit?
It's visible.
Okay, great. Yeah, so which can be used to reduce the price of each of the products in the state by a certain discount. So we have to guess the definition of this method named reduce price, which is basically a mutation in a Vuex store. So these are the options that are available to us. Of course, you can read the answer that it is going to be B, but anyone would like to explain that why it is B and why not A, C, and D? Anyone?
Sir, because we do dispatch for action.
Correct. Dispatch is used for actions. Okay, so D option is eliminated. C option is also using commit. Remember, we are already inside a mutation, right? And we just have this state available with us, state as a variable. So we cannot use commit here, right? Is it true?
Yes, sir.
No, we can still use it. Means we can basically invoke a mutation from another mutation. This is possible. Am I making the correct statement?
The mutations are called from actions now.
Yeah, correct. You basically invokes mutations from actions. Yes. Okay, let's not try to spend so much time here. Yeah, so you are correct. Basically, in the C and D option, they are basically eliminated in the first place. Why the first option is eliminated? Can someone tell me very quickly?
So we have state passed as an parameter.
So this dot store or this dollar store, this is a variable which is basically available to all of the Vue components. But remember, we are inside the Vuex store itself, right?
Yes,
we are
sir.
inside the Vuex store itself, so there's no need to use this dot store variable or whatever it is doing. What we do is we have the direct access state. What we do is we simply try to access the products list from this and do whatever computation we want. The definition of those functions will always be the same. It's just a matter that how you are going to access it. So this is basically the correct mode to access. The definitions, it remains the same, I guess, in all of those definitions or in all of the options, I guess. Yes, it's almost the same. Yeah, I hope this is okay, right?
Sir,
Yes.
if we still use the dollar store inside the Vuex store, will we get an error?
I don't think you will get an error, but it might be, but it won't work at least.
Okay, sir.
Which of the following HTTP request method is cacheable in general? So get, post, put. Well, let me just try to give you a basic idea that how do we basically define the cacheability, or how do we define that which method is cacheable or which is not. So what do you expect from the cacheability? That means when a user sends a request, the server responds to that request with some content that is sent to the browser, and browser renders that in its own way and shows it to the client. Now, when the browser gets the request for that content for the very first time, what it does is it tries to cache it somewhere, so that if another user tries to make a request for the same resource, the server does not need to do those computations once again and find out those results or waste those resources again or utilize those resources again. Waste might not be the correct keyword here, or I should say that utilize those resources once again. What it does is it stores the result somewhere. It can be done at multiple levels, as we have already seen. So the next time, whenever any such request comes again, the server need not utilize the resources again in order to compute that result. It basically serves that content from the place where it basically cached it before. Right. This is basically the purpose of cacheability, so that you can improve the performance of your application. Right. If there are so many requests that are going to, request for the same data, it makes sense that you basically store that response somewhere, and you serve that response again and again for each of those requests instead of computing that result for each request. Right. This is what we do in the cacheability. Now, what's the basically fundamental idea behind cacheability, or how do we find that which method should be cacheable or which should not? If you are able to reconstruct, or I should say that rebuild the response for a request just after seeing the URL, that method is easier to cacheable, or that method is easier to implement cacheability in simple terms. That means if you have all of the information available in the URL itself, the proxy server or the front-end server, which is going to do some load balancing work as well, can, see that request and can see what the user is basically expecting or what the user is requesting for. And if it has the cached resource somewhere stored in its file system or wherever it is, it can respond with that content without actually going to the origin server and request that server to compute that result again and then forward it to the client. So as I said that if you are able to reconstruct the response just after seeing the URL, that method is basically easier to implement. And out of the 3 request methods that are listed here in options A, B, and C, which is the method that has each and every information available in the URL itself?
Get.
It is get only, of course, because in post and put we have a request body, and the proxy server or the front-end server basically can't read that request body in order to respond clearly. There may be mechanisms through which you can implement cacheability for those type of methods as well, but it's not really trivial to do. So that's why if we talk about in general, so get is the most preferred method that is used for cacheability. You don't really use post and put, because there might be infinite permutations or combinations of data that you can get inside the request body. Right? So that's why get is generally cacheable in nature. Okay, well, I'll try to go over the basically the programming or the code based questions. If there are any theory questions, I would like to skip them for now, as we have already crossed the time limit for the session. Yeah, so if there is any theory question, I'll probably skip that from now onwards. Okay, so consider the following application app.py and an HTML file index.html. What we are doing here is we are defining 2 endpoints. One is this home endpoint, the other one is profile. What we are doing here is, okay, sleep. Okay, so we are making threaded equals to false here. That means this Flask application is going to work in non-threaded mode. And what we do in our index.html is that we make requests to 2 URLs one after another. The moment we or the control reaches to this line or to this statement, that is this one, res1, and we make a call to this URI, that is, or this URL, that is the home URI of the Flask application. Remember, the Flask application is working in non-threaded mode. That means it will first process the first request it gets, sends the response back. After that, it will accept the next request. Before that, it will basically keep the request in a queue, right? And will not start processing it or even will not accept it. The moment you make a request to this home URL, what it does is it basically says that just sleeps for 10 seconds. So you are just, trying to, do something bad with your resources if you are simply saying time.sleep. That's not basically an ideal way to do it. The question basically is going to ask something. If a user visit index.html at 10 a.m., what will be log? Okay, yeah. So what it does is the moment you send a request, it sleeps for 10 seconds. And after sleeping for 10 seconds, it wakes up, it comes back, And what it does is it says that date time dot now dot seconds. So as the question specifies that the current date is, or no, forget about the date, since we are going to find out something about seconds. The seconds can be find out as or can be considered as 10, right? So these are the hours, these are the minutes, and these are the seconds. It is going to be 10. The moment you get the request, it waits for 10 seconds. That means the number of seconds that have been elapsed till now are 20. And after that, you send the response back. What's going to be the value of this date time dot now dot second? Remember, the request was received at 10 seconds. Just imagine it. The request was received at 10 seconds. You waited for 10 more seconds due to this sleep. And after that, you responded back with the response. What the value of this date time dot now dot second would be?
20.
Sir, 10, 10, 20.
Correct. It would be 20. So the very first response that you will get here is 20. Now, once you send 20 back, this next request will be accepted by the Flask application. And here you are basically making a request to a different URL or a different URI. That is this profile. This is even doing much more worse. It is saying that you have to sleep for 30 seconds. Right. Now, just remember that the Flask application sends the response back for the first request at 20 seconds. At 20 seconds, let's assume the ideal case that it accepts the new request at 20 seconds itself, means after sending the response back. Again, when it receives the request, it says that I have to sleep for 30 seconds. Right? So if you add 30 to 20, it will become 50. So after waiting for 50 seconds, so remember that I am considering the cumulative time, right? The moment it sends the first request. From the moment it sends the first request, sorry, right? Now, again, it is saying that date time dot now dot seconds, the second. So what will be the value of this expression now?
50.
It would be 50 because the first request took 20 seconds and now this is going to take 30 more seconds. So it will result into 50. So the result that you expect to be shown, let's see, what you do is that rest1 dot then it is basically responding with the value 20. What it does is it simply resolves it and it shows it on the console. So yeah, for the first request, you will get 20. For the second request, it is doing the same. So yeah, you will get 20 and 50. 20 and 50. Yeah, the very first one is the correct answer. Okay. I hope this is clear. We were just working in a non-threaded mode. Which of the following statements is that true about Redis? The data is always. Sorry.
For the above question, what if the threaded was true?
If the threaded was true, then both of these requests would be processing in parallel. That means the moment you send the first request, it starts processing. It says it will wait for 10 seconds. It will send the response back. So if you are sending the request at 10 seconds, you will get the response of the first request back at 20 seconds. And for the second request, you will get at 40. So in that case, the answer would be 20 and 40.
20, 40, 10 or 40?
You are sending it 10 seconds, right? At 10. So the first request will sleep for 10 seconds, right?
Okay.
So it will be 20, 40 in that case.
Okay.
So all of the, okay, the rest of the questions, they seem to be of the theory based. Is it okay if we skip those questions and get back to some of the quiz questions that you have asked for?
Sir, please go with the theory questions first.
Okay.
Sir, if you can release this document, then I think you can skip the questions.
Yeah, sure. Means we can make this document available after this session. So yeah, what the majority says that shall we skip these questions? We'll be making this document available to you right after this session.
Go to
Yeah, if you make the document available, then I guess you can skip because Discourse is always open.
Okay, great. Yeah, all right. That's a good suggestion. Thanks. Okay, so these are basically theory based, and as I said, means all of those are basically picked from practice or graded category, and the solutions for all of those assignments for all of those questions have already been published. In case you have a doubt on any question, you can first refer to those solutions that were given. In case that doubt doesn't get cleared, you can again come back to us via Discourse or emails, right? Yeah. So Okay, I'll have to open the quiz questions. I am not sure if we will be able to take all of the questions that were mentioned in the discourse, but can you please again try to be very specific? Because there were many of those questions which have been discussed in the discourse or maybe in any other live sessions as well.
Yeah.
So if you're sure that the question was not discussed in any of the live session or either in the discussion forum, please let me know the.
Yeah. Okay. So you can for quiz 1 you can take this QPG21. The first one I think is the.
Okay, QPG2. Which one shall I
first, yeah, the QPG2.
Okay.
Yeah, this one. Actually, yeah. Most of them are similar, but no, this.
Which question shall I go?
You can search app-dev2, then I think otherwise there are like.
Just tell me the question number.
Question number 119.
Okay.
Yeah, so you see here means like it is all otherwise similar, but there is this async function is also given, which was not in any of our practice or graded question.
Okay, so the reason that why do we use async so that we can use await keyword inside that function. The reason for using await function, this await keyword is that we are going to wait for a particular expression to get executed or for a particular promise to get resolved or rejected, whatever it is. Right? Because what happens by default is that JavaScript puts them into a separate thread and keeps on executing the other statements. But if you are using await, it won't do that. That means this get course will only be executed once this function has finished its execution. If await would not have been there, this add course, if it has something asynchronous, then it would be done in in background or in parallel, and this control will go forward to this get course function as well. Let me just try to take the whole question. What this says is that, okay, we just need to predict out. We have a courses list here. We have a function get course. We have a function add course. We have a async function called add. So the very first thing that we are doing here is we are making a call to this add function with this object, which has two properties. One is name, the other one is description. Remember, this function is async. If this would not have been async, you could not have used this await. Right? It would have been an error in that case. Since we are using await, we expect this add course to finish its execution before we go on to execute the next function, that is this get course. So what this add course is doing, this add course accepts the parameter that it sends. So what it sends is what it gets. It gets this name and description. This is basically an object. Right? So add course, what it does is, okay, so yeah, you see that we are using set timeout here. So this is something that will be done asynchronously. If there are some statements that are written after this, those would be executed first if we are not using await. But since we are using await, the call to this function will only be made once this function has finished its execution. So after waiting for 1000 milliseconds or 1 second, what it does is it takes the courses list that is defined somewhere in the program that is here. It already had has two objects. What we did was we added one more object in. So previously it was MAD1, MAD2, and it added MAD3. Okay. Now this function has finished its execution. Now what we'll do is we will go to this get course. What this get course does, this again says that set timeout. Okay. So after 1000 milliseconds, what it does is it creates a list, all courses, and what it does is it iterates over this courses list that is here. Remember, this time this courses list has 3 elements, right? 3 objects, MAD1, MAD2, MAD3 with the corresponding description. It iterates through that list, and what it does is it pushes each of those objects that it encounters while iterating in this courses list, and it pushes it to what? It pushes it to a new list called all courses. Right? So after waiting for 1000 milliseconds, what it does is it pushes all of those things into this all courses list, and it simply logs it on the console. So what you are expecting on the console is basically those 3 objects, right? MAD1, MAD2, and MAD3. This is what you are going to expect. Yeah, this is that.
Okay, 123 next. Also 121 actually, 121. Just okay. Yeah,
121. Okay, so what you're doing here is there is a class C new cat. You create a object, what it does is it accepts black. It says that this dot color is going to be black and sound is going to be meow. Console.log cat.from JSON. So from JSON is basically a static method that you will be invoking with the help of class name. You invoked it, and what you pass this parameter is JSON.parse JSON.stringify C. Right. So what this C does is the C is basically an object. What you did was you converted that object into a string. Right. And again, after converting it into the string, you again convert it into an object. So ultimately, you get an object back. The only difference is that this time, this has nothing to do with the cat. This is a normal object.
Okay.
Right? This object doesn't belong to the type cat. So what you do that you send this object to this from JSON method. What it does is it tries to create a new instance of this class. How? It takes the color property from that object that we sent to this method. We send the property, object C. This C object is basically having an attribute defined color, and that was black. So you basically creates a new object D with the same properties. What we are sending here is basically the black only. D.sound, you are making it O.sound, that will again be meow, and then you are going to return. Right? So it is basically going to return you an object. Right? An object of class what? An object of class cat. Remember, we have created a new class, new object of this class cat. So the result of this expression, or till this, before this dot, the result is going to be an object that belongs to class cat. After that, what we does is we try to find the name of the constructor of that object. Right? So as I said, that the object name is the object is basically D, and it belongs to the class cat. The constructor will basically refers to this constructor that is defined here, and the name. The name of the constructor of a class, it basically remains the same as of the class. If you would have studied the languages like C++ or C. C doesn't have the object-oriented behavior. Yeah, if you would have studied languages like C++, you would know that constructors are basically some special member functions which have the same name as that of class. So the answer that you can expect from this question is to be cat itself, because the name of the constructor would be cat. And yeah, it is cat.
Next
question,
123.
Okay, so what you are doing here is your application. You are rendering one component 1. 193. So what you are doing is you are creating this component comp1 here. Okay, this is having a div tag in it and a paragraph element which has a variable say hello. This say hello is coming from
this function.
Okay, this say hello is coming from this. So what this is going to return is hello this dot user. What's the value of this dot user is? It is going to be what you get as string here. So in the template, you are getting it as online degree. You are sending it as a prop. So the value that this say hello computed property will return is hello online degree, and this hello online degree will be replaced by this mustaq expression. Right? The way you do it in Jinja, the same way you do it in Vue by default. If you want, you can change the delimiters. But for now, what this paragraph text is going to look like, it's going to look like as a hello online degree.
Okay.
So hello online degree should be the answer. Yes. May I have the next question, please, if this is okay?
24, the next one.
Okay, 24. This one?
Yes.
So what we are doing here is you have a heading, you have two components, log component. You are sending log 1, log 2, and then you are listing for events like dislike on both of those. And what you are doing is you are incrementing or decrementing the value of likes. Then at last you are showing total value. So what the question says that for this app, the browser will display 2 blog posts and 2 buttons corresponding to each blog post, one with text like and other one with dislike, and a text total with some number in front of it. If the user clicks on all buttons displayed on the screen exactly once, what will be the number displayed in front of the text box? Right. So just forget about all of those things first. Let's first try to find out that what the initial value of the variable is that is being shown or that is being asked in the question. This is likes. Just try to find out what the initial value is. The initial value is 10.
10.
Right. Now we see that there are two components, block components, and they both are going to get their corresponding buttons, right? Because each of those component is defining their set of buttons, right? Those two set of buttons which are saying like and dislike. Now note here that what you are doing is you are binding a click event on these buttons, and what you want to do is that whenever any of these button is clicked, you want to emit an event called like, or you want to emit an event called dislike, depending on which button you are clicking, to the parent. This emit is basically used to emit an event to the parent. The parent listens to that event and do some actions based on it. Now, since we are having two components, that means we will be getting 4 buttons, right? 2 likes button and 2 dislikes button, right?
2 dislike button, yes.
If we talk about the first component, let's say we click on the likes button. What it does is it accepts that, it receives that event on the parent here with this like statement here with this expression. What it does is it simply makes an increment of 20 in the default value or in the last value of likes. Now, since this is the first button that we are clicking, the initial value of this likes was 10. The moment you click on it, it will become 30, right?
30.
The moment you click on this dislike, it will be decreased, it will be decremented by 10, it will become 20 again.
20, okay.
The next time you click on the second component like button, this is doing some different computations. However, it is just making the change in the likes attribute or the likes variable. What was the last value that we left here? It was 20, right?
Yes.
So this time 20 plus 40, it would become 60.
60.
And 60 minus 20 will become 40.
40.
So this is what the answer should be. 40.
Yes. Next.
Is it okay?
127.
127. Okay, this question, I guess we have already discussed it in details in Discourse. Can you please refer to the Discourse post?
Okay. Okay.
On a high level, I can just tell you that basically, in JavaScript, every object has a constructor or basically has a property named prototype. Every constructor of an object has a property named prototype, and you basically use those 2 underscores proto and then again 2 underscores. So that proto property, it basically refers to that prototype of that constructor. Yeah, it would be clear, means it would be better if you can refer to the Discourse post. We can focus on the other questions.
Yeah, next one.
Next one, 128?
Yes.
Okay. For this app, the browser will display 2 clickable buttons, one with text 4 and the other one with text 6 and total score and current over. If the user clicks on the button 4, 6, 4, 6 respectively, what will be the value displayed in front of the text, total score and current over? Okay, so we see that we have a component here, component 1, that is having one prop run, and then apart from that we are having 2 buttons, right? What this component is doing is this is having total score and current over here. This is also getting a prop in the form of number, in the name of run, and what it says is that the type of that type of that variable is number. It also has a data attribute which says that the total run will be replaced by 0 and the runs will be replaced by this empty list, and you are basically watching for this run. That means run is a variable here and you are watching for this run. That means whenever any change will happen to this runs, or 1 second. Okay. This dot total dot run, you are making it plus this dot run. Then this dot runs dot push. What you are doing is you are making that decrement of count. Okay. Methods change run, then components swap. Okay. So if we are clicking on the button 4646. So the moment you click on this 4 button, what happens is that it will basically, trigger this event. And what it does is It's invokes this function change run. This change run will come here. What will it do is it will say that this dot run equals to r plus 20. So whatever the previous value of run was, it was 0. So what it does is it says that r plus 20. So this time the value of this
4 plus 20.
Sorry.
4 plus 20.
Yeah, it sends 4 plus 20. Yeah, so it has become 24. The moment you send it to, okay, the moment you click on the 6 button. So 6 button is sending the value 6, and then what you do is you change this value to what? Previously it was 24, right?
Yes. So 30 it will become.
Wait.
Or 20, yeah, or 24 plus. Yeah.
Okay, what we are doing is we are basically reassigning it. So this time this r has a value 6, and this 20 we are just simply adding it. So 20 plus 6, it would become 26. Or I think we are missing something here. Just a minute. Okay, let us see. Okay, so the moment we are basically making the change in this run variable, we also need to trigger this watch here, right? So the very first time that we clicked on this 4 button, what we did was we invoked this function change run, and we changed the value of this run to what? R was 4 and plus 20, so it became 24. And since the value has changed, what will it do is it will basically add the value of this run in the value of total run. So what the previous value of total run was, it was 0, and what you did was you just try to add the value of run. What the correct value of run is, it is basically 24, right?
Yes, right now 24.
Yeah, and after that what you did was that this dot runs. So runs is a list. What you do is you say that you push an element to it, this dot run minus 20. So what the current value of this dot run is, it is basically 24. You subtract 20 from it, you will get 4.
Okay.
Right. So the value that you push into this runs list or array is basically 4. All right. The current value of run is 24. The current value of total run is also 24, and the value of this runs list is just 4 as of now.
Just 4.
Right. Okay. It just has one element 4. The moment you click on the 6, you again invoke this function. Then it will send 6 here. So 6 plus 20, it will become 26. The value of run has now been changed from 24 to 26, right? Yeah, it has changed from 24 to 26. Again, you make an increment in this total run. Previously, it was 24. Now you are adding 26 to it. I guess it would become 24 plus 26, 50.
50.
Right? And then this dot run is what? It is 26. 26 minus 20, it would be 6. So you are pushing the next element to it. So previously it was 4. Now it is 6. The current value of total run is 50. The current value of run is, I guess, 26. You again click on this 4 button. This 4 button. You again invokes this function change run. What it does is, okay, again you get 4 plus 20. The value of run becomes 24. Again you come back here. You make an increment in the total run. Previously it was 40. Now it has become 60, 70, 74. And then what you did was you again make a push to this runs. This time it is going to push 24 minus 24. So now the value of this array looks like 464, and the value of this total run is 60, 70, 74. Okay, the value of run variable is 24 as well. The last time you click on the 6 button, r plus 20, so it is going to make 26. The value of run as 26. It goes here, so 74 plus 26 would become 100.
100.
This dot run would be 26 minus 20 would be 6. So the final values that will be shown here would be 100 and 4646.
Yes.
Is it correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, next question, please.
Yeah, this 129 and 130.
129. Okay, this question itself. This is also very much similar.
Yes.
I hope you can try doing it on your own. This seems to be the similar question. If this is something difficult, or this is something that you're finding difficult here, we are simply
Yes,
using the
exactly.
spreading operator. And what this style object is, where this is coming from, here it
But
is
here
coming from.
also, yeah, but okay. So both places, because in
Yeah,
style
so
one
you are
also
just
this
replacing
is
these height, width, and margin properties with this state. That's it. Nothing else. And then you
okay.
can try finding out the result. I hope you can at least try this on your own.
Okay.
Yeah, please reach out to us via Discord, or you can send me a separate mail if you didn't understand.
Okay. Okay. 130 next one.
Okay. So what you are doing here is index.html. You are just showing one component comp1. In comp1, you are registering a component comp1 here. That is this. What you say here is that component 1. And you are also saying, okay, so you will simply get component 1. You are basically trying to add this component here, but you have never registered this component, right? This comp11 has never been registered with your new application. Sorry.
Not register means we already
Like you have
a
registered
comp.
this comp1 using this
Okay.
statement, right?
Okay, if we have added comp 11, then it would have been
Correct.
registered.
Yeah. So it would just show component 1 on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, component.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Next question, please.
Yeah. Next from the quiz 2, not from this. Quiz
Site
2.
number.
QPC1, I guess.
Okay. See. Yeah. Question number, please.
143. You discussed similar question, but I have a doubt. Like,
Okay.
yeah, you discussed similar one, but the thing is, like, when this function, can you explain, like, a dot to string is equal to b? So why when we change it to string, then why it is not equal?
Okay. Let's see what is happening. So what we are doing is we are creating a promise here, and then we are looking for how it resolves or how it generates the error. Once we get into this function, we just create a function. Oh, sorry. When we get into this promise, we just create a function. This function will only get triggered when we make a call to it, and we are making a call at this place while defining this function. We pass 2 parameters to it. One is 9, the other one is also 9. The difference is that they both are of different data types. One is number, the other one is string. The first one is basically the strict check or the strict equality check. That means the type and the value, they both must be same. But since the value is same, but not the type, so this condition won't met, it won't be satisfied. You come to this else if condition. What it does is it takes whatever the value of this a is and it converts into the string. So we pass a as 9. It was a number, but with this toString method, it is now converted into the string. So this 9 and this 9, they both will become equal this time because they both have now become strings. What happens is the moment these both become string and this condition evaluates to true, you call this reject callback with a parameter or with an argument partial match. Since you basically asked to reject this promise, what will happen is that the second parameter in this 10 will basically accept this rejected promise. Remember, we have just changed these names, these parameters names, just to create a small confusion here. But remember, the first parameter will always refer to the pass case or the resolve case. The second parameter or the second function will always refer to the fail case or the reject case. So in this case, we are making a rejection. It will be received at this second function. What we do is we say pass summary, and whatever the argument that we got, it is partial match. So pass summary and partial match is something that you would expect as the output. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Next question, please.
145.
145. Okay. Did Narendra discuss one of this question?
Yeah, so I have, like, if you can explain, like, when we say that what will be rendered when you visit the application for first time. So, like, there are
When you
many
visit the
questions.
application for the first time, you
Yes.
will go to the base URL. The base
Okay,
URL
this-
says that it will go to get name component.
Okay.
The
okay.
get name says
then,
it will go to hello username. I hope you
Yeah.
can.
yeah, then I can. Yeah. Next is 147. There were two similar questions, 147 and 148. Only the input was different.
Okay, so what we are doing here is we have an input text box. So the type is text, placeholder, let's ignore it. The model is filter text. So this is something that we need to take care of. And then we are creating an unordered list, fruit stamp, and we are trying to show it. Okay. So what happens is, what the question says, suppose the application is running on this, what will be rendered in the browser, sorry, if the user types A, uppercase A in the text input box. Okay. The moment you type A here in this text input box, the value of this filter text would change to would be changed to capital A, right?
Yes.
Since we are using two-way data binding, what will it does is since the value gets changed, we are watching for this variable as well. We are watching for a change in this variable. As soon as you type A, the value gets changed. This method gets triggered. What it does is, we'll come back onto this later. Let's first discuss this part. This dot fruits dot filter. So fruits somewhere. Okay, fruits is a list here. What we are trying to do here is filter. I hope you remember what the filter is. Filter. What it does is it basically returns an array. It returns an array consisting of those elements who pass a certain text. Sorry, not a text. Test. TEST test or a certain criteria.
Okay.
So we define the criteria with this logic here. What we will do here is we will iterate through each and every element in this fruits array. Like what we did was that return this dot filter text. What the value of this dot filter text is, it is capital A. We are basically using a ternary operator. So depending on this expression, whether it evaluates to true or false, if it evaluates to true, this will be evaluated. If it evaluates to false, this will be evaluated and returned. Okay. So since filtered text, it has the value uppercase A, it will be evaluated to true. Since it is evaluated to true, what will happen is you go here. Right? What it does is it says that fruit dot starts with. Now starts with is again a function which returns a Boolean value. It either returns true or it returns false. Okay. What's the criteria that we are defining inside this starts with? So see, we are basically trying to do some kind of recursion here. In filter, we are basically defining this criteria. In starts with, we again have a different criteria to filter. Right? So what we are doing here is this dot filter text, if it is equals to capital A. Yes, it is, right? You know, we just type uppercase A and the value of this filter text is basically uppercase. If it does, or if this condition evaluates to true, what will happen is this will come here. So this starts with will get an argument small a, right? This starts with will get an argument small a because this whole expression will be evaluated to small a.
Okay, because it's true, because it's starting big and gave input capital A.
Correct. Now this expression will look like fruits dot start with small a. That's it. This expression has been resolved into this small a in this small key, right? Or in this small text, in this small character. Now, just try to find out that if this expression will evaluate to true or not. Fruit dot starts with a, or sorry, small a. We are on the first element in this apple. So here it is starting with capital A. That means this is going to return false, right?
Yes.
So since this is returning false, the first element won't be included into the array that this filter is going to return. So this first element would be skipped. When we will iterate and will go on to the next element, that is ABIU. Again, we check the value of filter text remains the same. It is capital A. This expression will be evaluated. Every time this expression will be evaluated because the filter text will always remain A, right? We are not changing it anymore.
Yes.
Again, we come here, we check that the value of filter text is it equals to what I say?
Small a, sorry, capital A, then again it will be.
Okay, just a minute.
For all four, it will check. No?
It will check all of those four one by one. Just give me a minute. Okay, all right, yeah. So again, as I said, the filter text will always remain capital A. What it does is it will return this small a again, right? Now, when we are on to the next element, this is the second element. Remember, this element is starting with small a, with lowercase a, right?
Yes.
So this starts with will evaluate to true. And since this has been evaluated to true, this filter will start creating an array. It already has created an array. And this will put this as the first element in that array, ABI. Right? We go on to the next element, Acrola. Again, here you will find that this condition will always become true. You will again get A, but since this Acrola doesn't start with lowercase a, this will become false. The next time you go to this ACEAEE, this condition again becomes true. This starts with will get a lowercase a, and this time also, since this is starting with lowercase a, this expression will be returning true. And the last element, this ACKEE, will also be included in the array that this filter function is going to return. So this filter function will now basically return an array at last consisting of two elements, ABIU and ACKEE. And those two elements, okay, as I said, it will return an array consisting of these two elements, and this array will be assigned to this fruit stamp variable, right? And when we will iterating through this fruit stamp variable here, we have two elements, ABIU, ACKEE. So it will just print ABIU and ACKEE in the form of unordered list. This is what we are expecting. Yes.
Yeah. Can you just when we first of all we give A is the uppercase. So yes. the innermost this dot filter text A is equal to A. So then it takes the A. Okay. So whenever it comes this capital letter, so which condition becomes false? Like I'm confused with this. Inner one I can get. Like when will this this line will filter?
Okay. So see, there are basically two conditions. One is this dot filter text equals to A. The other condition is this whole expression, fruit dot start. This is also a criteria. Okay. So the moment this dot filter text, so means you can assume that this condition is always going to be true in this question because the value of this filter text is never going to change. It will always remain uppercase A. It's just a matter that whether this fruit dot starts with is returning true or not. Right? Because it is always going to get this small a as the argument. It is just going to return true for those elements which are returning with lowercase a or which are starting with lowercase.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, thanks. And just the last one is this 149. Is it or no? Next one? Yeah, just this one. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. What you are doing here is you are simply making a call to this start function. Okay. Can you just give me a minute?
Yeah, sure. No.
Yeah, sorry. So result of the following shows the correct output after 20 seconds. Okay. So what we are doing here is we are defining function resolver1, resolver2, and this start. This is an async function. That's why we are using await keywords here. And then we are using this start call in order to make a call to this function. What we do here is we call this resolver1. What this resolver1 does is it returns a promise. But remember, we are not using awaits here, right?
Yes.
So this resolver1 will be executed. Just after that, this resolver2 will also be put in some kind of queue, and they both will start processing. They both will start getting executed. If we talk about resolver1, it is going to take 2000 milliseconds in order to get resolved with this argument mat1. And if we talk about this resolver2, it is going to take less time than resolver1. Okay. Right? So it will resolve with what? It will resolve with mat. Right? Now, the moment you say that await P1, that means you are going to wait until this P1 gets completely executed. Right? You are going to wait till this P1 gets completely executed. So what P1 is going to return is P1 is going to return MAD1, and the similar thing you are doing for P2. You are waiting for it to get finished first. Well, that's a different case that P2 will actually get finished, will actually finish its execution before resolver 1 because it is taking less time. Right? So if I just talk about, just forget about these messages, resolver 2 promise is done, resolver 1 promise is done. Let's just talk about which message will be shown first out of MAD1 and MAD2. Now, based on the hints that I have given so far, that await will basically wait for the P1 first. P2 is coming after that.
Yeah, so MAD1 will be printed first, then
MAD1 will be printed first, and P2,
then MAD2.
and then MAD2 will be printed first. Now, if we talk about these messages, resolver 1 promise is done, resolver 2 promise is done. What do you think? Which one gets printed first?
This one, first 2 will be printed first. Which will
resolver 2
second.
promise done is done will be printed first, then resolver 1, and after that you will get this MAD1 and MAD2.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
this is what you were expecting.
So this, whenever we use this set timeout, so
Yeah.
what is the purpose of using this set timeout whenever we use it?
That means you want to delay the execution of certain, statements, like whatever you are going to write inside the block. That means these set of statements, these will be executed after waiting for these many milliseconds.
Okay. But whenever we use await, then it bypasses that.
If you use await, then it is not going to execute the statements written after that. Remember that set timeout is basically a web API function. That means it will be put into a different stack, and the normal execution of the program will continue.
Okay, yes.
But if you are using await, the normal execution of the program will pause there. It will wait for it to finish first.
Yes.
Like, but if it's a part of a function, remember, sorry.
Yeah,
Means
yeah,
if you are using await inside a function, then the statements written after await will be paused. But if after this call you are basically trying to execute some synchronous code, let's say some console.log statements, those will be executed.
Okay.
Only the control within that block will get paused or will get delayed.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything else from the quiz questions that we can take right now?
No, that's all.
Okay. Yeah. So shall I stop sharing if it is there?
Yeah. Just the next question, if you can just check the next question.
Yeah. Which of the following function schema simulates the callback-like behavior? So what callback actually does is, if a certain condition is satisfied, what it does is it basically calls the success function. If the particular condition or the criteria is not satisfied, it will make a call to the failure function, whatever.
Failure function. Yes.
So this is what we are trying to do in these two set of code snippets.
Yeah, same thing. Okay. Okay.
Okay. I hope all of your doubts would have been cleared by now.
Yeah.
Preetoti,
yeah. So you will give those sheets.
Sorry, which sheets?
The questions which you are taking, they are from graded and all, but we have to check.
Okay. That document. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I'll put it on the discourses.
Okay.
Yes, Preetoti, please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Just one small operational query.
Yeah.
Can you please clarify on the number of questions or the marks for the final exam?
The question paper will be of 100 marks. There will be 32 questions.
Okay, 100 marks and 32 questions. So can you tell me, do you have any idea whether the pattern will be followed across the courses for diploma, or whether it will be a similar pattern?
I think the 100-mark criteria would be same. I'm not sure. For AppDev 1, for AppDev 2, I'm pretty much sure that 100 marks would be the pattern that will be followed for these two courses. I'm not sure about that.
All right. Thanks for the clarification, sir.
Sir, how many questions will be code based and how many will be theory based?
Well, as I mentioned, means you will get a good balance between theory and programming questions this time.
But the questions are too large. The code based are too large. It takes a lot of time to read, and then the
yes,
desktop
Narendra
screen
even discussed,
is
and even we have discussed some router questions. So I guess the questions that you are referring to, those will probably be based on the routers. So you basically don't need to go through all of the code, but you just need to read the question carefully, a statement carefully, and just need to get the key points of it.
Okay.
There might be some code which is not used at all in the context of that question.
Yeah, and actually the screen is like that. We keep scrolling, and sometimes it get lost, and so it goes at different pace. It takes a lot of time actually in those questions.
Well, yeah, means we thought of we have already omitted all of those
Last time,
boilerplate
we
codes,
used to
right? The HTML tags, the head tags, and some other body tags, etc., etc. The reason that why we are not trying to omit too much, that the reason is so that someone doesn't come up and say that these things were not present there, so I was not able to understand that this question was actually targeted on this concept. So that's why we have to keep that code at least there. It may increase the length of that question. It may make it look lengthy, but that's the only option that we have.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, there will be any code-based question based on Celery, Redis, or webhooks?
Yes, you can get. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
But we did not have such questions in practice or graded assignment.
Don't worry, means they will always be based on the theory concepts. If you have the concepts in your mind, they should be trivial to answer.
Okay, then no problem.
How jobs are executed, how different threads are set up for carrying out certain jobs. These are the things that you need to keep in your mind while answering questions on Celery. Okay, so
I will give a tips on how to solve the router question, because I feel like a lot of people are having trouble in solving those problems. So for the router questions, you just look at the URL and try to figure out the path. Once you figured out the path, you go to the associated component and see and watch for the template. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. This way, even though the code is very long, you can figure out the answer very efficiently if you will work efficiently. Just look for the URL and figure out the path. Go to the component which is associated with the path, and then go to the template which is being rendered inside the inside the router view. Just once you figured out the component, and the answer will be very easy.
Yeah, I think it will help. And today's questions solving this will also help, like hints how to solve these long questions.
Yeah, sure. Means we all are available on the discourse. The course team is always available on the discourse. But yeah, sometimes it happens that we see a lot of queries. I don't know how to explain that scenario. But yeah, the moment I left the discourse and I came back on the discourse again, I saw that there are 30 to 35 new threads being come up on the top. And when I started reading those through threads, then I find that some people are just trying to respond in whatever they can.
Yeah, one person in 30 minutes he created 60 posts actually.
So yeah, these are the things that basically
everyone got those notifications like repeated.
Okay, yeah. So these are the things that basically restrict us in order to go through each and every post, because if we get suddenly 60 posts in front of us, we definitely won't be able to answer all of them at the same moment.
Those are just compliments. You don't have to.
But we are not sure, right?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so shall I put a request in this discourse, or will you share that document which you discussed today?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, am I audible? Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I was telling that shall I put a question on discourse like you share the doc or
Yeah,
will you?
we will share the doc.
Okay, then. Okay, we'll wait. Thank you. So you're ending the session, right?
Yes, we will end the session. I guess Abhishek is disconnected.
Oh, sorry. I was actually on mute. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so whatever I said previously, I guess no one have heard it. Okay. Yeah, means we'll make it available on the discourse. Yeah, as I said, means just put a reminder on the discourse if we don't do it by 12 or 1.
Yeah, I will put it, yeah, by so that you can put it. The form is okay. Whatever you shows that you can put it. There is we just need the questions. Okay then. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So
good
means
night.
in case any one of you have any questions,
Mhm.
well, of course, I would not encourage this activity every time, but yeah, now since we have very few days left, I would encourage all of you to please tag both of us, Narendra and me, so that we get a notification. Right? Just to keep away from those spam posts.
With his name, actually, there are some different person. Sometime I tagged, so that is the issue. Your name has POD in it, so it is easier. His name finding is sometime it become, now I know, but otherwise it's difficult, his name finding, because similar to other students' name it is. So.
Okay, the reason I'm saying so is so that we will get a separate
easier.
Email and we'll be able to track better. Because those spam posts, they basically don't tag any of the instructors or any of those other users. They simply replies, like it's better.
I think I have created correctly. Yeah.
Okay, so once again, thank you everyone for joining with us for this session, and we wish you all the best for your end-term exam. The Vivas are also going to come in soon. There will be a short delay for the Vivas. The Med 1 Vivas will start on time. It's on 4th of April, but there will be a delay for Med 2. We'll keep you informed on this.
But approximately, do you know, like the slots are also not open. So after now, you will open after end term only, right? After 3?
I'm not sure. Means we are still in discussion that how to go about conducting the Med 2 Vivas. We'll see. We'll probably make those slots available as soon as possible. I don't see any problem for giving you guys the time to book the slots, because what we have seen in Med 1 is that 150 slots they got booked in just a duration of 2 minutes.
Yeah, every subject actually there are issues. And can you just tell, if possible, like what will be the spread of time, like if what time start and what time end, like rough average, like.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Like when it will start, like for Med 1, like some people said like they've only 130 or 140 slots released for like 5 to 15th of April. So like correct. for us, it will be also up to 15th April only the Viva will finish for Med 2.
No. Actually, that was the first batch. That doesn't mean that if we have just released 150 slots for that duration, the Vivas will end.
Okay, so
we have just released slots for that particular duration. So for 16 to whatever the next date is, the set of those slots will be released soon for Med 1 course. The similar kind of pattern, I hope we will be applying this for Med 2.
Because last time, all the slots were open at the same time. I think in last term.
Next time, So
in Med 1.
Previously, we got the slots in bulk from all of the examiners. This time we are getting in chunks, so that's why we are doing so.
Okay, because you open small slots, so everybody goes and books it goes, just hang. The page is just in few seconds it goes like.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so we can wait, no problem. If you don't get, then we can wait. There is no issue, right?
Yeah, of course. Means everyone will get a chance to appear in the Viva. Of course, you all will get mails, right? Whenever we'll make those forms available to you. But don't worry if you are not able to make it for the first batch or the second batch. Of course, everyone will get a chance. Right?
There will be multiple batches, so no problem. We will get in one of them.
I'm hoping so. I'm not saying that this would be definitely something that we'll be applying here, but this is something that we have done for Med 1 this time. Hopefully, we'll do it for Med 2 as well.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, how many students are in Math 2?
There are about 250. But all of them are definitely not eligible for the Vivas, as few of them have not submitted the projects or have missed out filling the forms. So according to the eligibility criteria, they have they are not eligible for appearing in the Viva system.
Okay, sir.
But yeah, if you have submitted your prelim submission on time, your final submission on time on the new submission link, and you have also filled the Google form, you would definitely you are definitely eligible for the Viva. Yeah, just one more condition, that if you have filled the Google form with correct details. What I have seen is that people have also tried to fill NA or things like that. So definitely those people won't be eligible. Yeah, there was one more tip that I just want to mention. However, this won't affect. I hope this won't affect this time. That whenever you are basically copying or pasting a link in Google form, just make sure that it actually pastes the whole link, because there are new features in the browsers. Like if I'm using Edge, I tries to copy the URL from the URL box. What it does is it just creates a link. Definitely it creates a link, but when you paste it somewhere, when you paste it in the email, it basically converts that link into the name of the document. Like for example, if I'm trying to copy the link of a video recording or a Google Doc, I copied that link, I pasted it in an email, it will just convert that into the name of that document, but it will still be an hyperlink. But if you're trying to paste that link in the Google form, it will convert that name into the name of that document, but it won't remain as hyperlink, right? It will go as a text into the form. So make sure that you are pasting the actual link into the Google form. I found a couple of cases where this thing was done. So someone just pasted the means that name itself in the Google form. So please try to avoid those activities from the next time onwards. If any one of you has done that, please send me a separate mail so that I can check it. It don't affect your eligibility.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, if we have submitted the Google form and by chance this thing that you mentioned, that if that has happened, is there any way for us to know of it now, since no acknowledgement mail was sent?
Are you sure? Well, I'm hoping that you would not have done that mistake. I actually went through all of those responses. I didn't find many of those. I guess just one rare case. I don't even remember what was the name or roll number of the student. Well, in case you think so, you can just ping me separately. So send an email to me. I'll check and I'll try to help if I can. Sorry.
Hello.
Yeah.
So my question was, if we actually don't know whether or not that issue happened, the changing of a hyperlink to the name of the document, is there any way for us to understand, get to know about this now? Since after the form submission, we did not get any email saying that you have submitted this form and these are the details you have submitted. So is there any way for us to know about this now?
Well, not a direct way, but still, I would say that if you have any confusion, I would say that send a mail. Okay, I'll check and confirm.
Okay, sure, sir. Thanks.
Again, I'm mentioning that I am hoping that none of the other people have done that, except one or two, or just except one. That's the only case that I have encountered. I just thought of mentioning it so that you can take care of it.
Is this only for those who use Edge?
See, I am using Edge, so I know this kind of behavior is being shown by the Edge browser. If someone else is using different browsers, I'm not sure how those browsers behave for these links.
Okay, sir. Okay, thanks.
You can see some 60 updates all post coming. Sorry, what does this mean?
No. He was asking about that those posts. No, some dummy posts are there. No, I told not somebody just around I think yesterday or day before yesterday, 60 posts. That person made in like half an hour. So like I was getting ping every time, and there was nothing. You will only see thank you for this. I have also this, and same 3 messages. So, the problem is that these are very old posts. Some are from January starting. So the recent discussion, now they are all gone. So it is like, when you don't feel like, flagging it, it feels bad. Now I don't want to do that. But I was very upset with that thing.
Unfortunately, the discourse bonus thing means that people are going to spam, at least for this term. So flagging is a
But
necessity now.
Yeah, but when I was, once I was writing thank you, and then it says you cannot write thank you. That I got a message that you cannot write thank you.
that word has been
20 characters is the threshold that I guess.
Why it is not happening for that person? I don't know.
No, I guess you need to create a sentence or your text having at least 20 characters if you want to post something on this.
No, actually, apart from even from the minimum post limit, I mean the length limit, the word thank you has been banned. Even if you have a like 20 sentence long post and you have the word thank you in it, it won't be allowed by discourse.
I think it was not banned till yesterday.
Oh, it was
you
banned
can see
around
it,
a week
it's very like you'll see all these old posts coming, like 60 or 70. I think in half an hour he did the quota.
Is it only in Mad2 discussion forum or you are also?
I saw in Mad2 actually, not in others.
It's a problem for all forums actually. Even Java had this problem, so we actually took action a short while ago. So yeah, it's a discourse wide issue for now.
Okay. Yeah, we are hoping that this thing won't happen from next term onwards. Okay, so I guess it's a good time to formally close this session.
Yeah.
Once again, I want to thank you all for joining in this session. Okay, I hope you would have taken out the maximum from this session. And once again, wish you the best wishes for your exams and for your vivas. Hopefully, we'll have an interaction. Hopefully, we'll have an interaction after the exam.
At the last moment arranging this session, it will be really helpful. So many questions you have solved, so it will really help. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks for the course, sir. Med1 and Med2 have been excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, thanks a lot and bye-bye. Have a good night and have a good weekend.
Bye.